What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4 Knots. Chapter 60. At this time, Sasori of the Red Sand looks only 5 or 6 years old, but he can vaguely see the future. Especially the expressionless expression. Haruki recalled his life. As the grandson of Chiyo and a genius puppet master, Sasori should have a very bright future. If you don't defect, maybe 5th Cage is not Gaara, but him. But the tragedy began in the Second Ninja War. His parents died in the hands of Konoha's White Fang, Hitaki Tsukumo. As a result, Sasori became extremely withdrawn. And loneliness made him have a special feeling for the puppet, and because of his super talent, he finally embarked on a path of no return. He made his only friend a puppet, and even himself became a puppet. Just as he was about to avenge his parents, another thing happened. Hitaki Tsukumo committed suicide. So Sasori transferred the hatred to 3rd Cage, thinking that his negligence and incompetence caused the death of his parents. He attacked 3rd Cage and turned him into a puppet, becoming his favorite. Later, at the physical invitation of Konan, he joined the Akatsuki organization, and finally fought with Chiyo and Haruno Sakura, and died in the water. How should I put it, he is a tragic figure created by war. Why are you here to kill me? Haruki squatted down and looked at the boy who had not spoken since a while ago. If I remember correctly, we have met for the first time, without grievances and grievances. You are Konoha's ninja, and you know Hitaki Tsukumo, his friend, and I want him to feel the pain of loss, too. Sasori said, with a crisp voice that was unique to childhood. It is as expected. Haruki was not surprised. The children of the ninja world are already precocious, and Sasori is a genius, no worse than Kakashi. At the age of 5 or 6, he controls the 2 puppets of the father and the mother, and then cooperates with the poison brought from Chiyo. Accidentally, Jonin might suffer too. Not to mention his useless medical ninja. Speaking of this, Sasori is also a little speechless. How outrageous Anbu's news is. It simply broke his 2 puppets. He actually said that he is a ninja with superb medical treatment but not good at physique, illusion and ninjutsu. I really believe in your evil. Haruki thought about what to do with this guy. It doesn't make much sense to kill it directly, but it will lead to the breakdown of the cooperation with Tsunade. After all, he is the grandson of Chiyo. It's no use killing me. Haruki shook his head and said, if you really want revenge, you should go to Hitaki Tsukumo. Sasori glanced at him and said nothing. He naturally wanted to kill Hitaki Tsukumo, but it was impossible now, so after reading Haruki's information, he planned to kill him to vent his anger. But I didn't expect to be unfavorable. I can only say that I was too young to think about it clearly. Are you a puppet master? Haruki pointed to the 2 lying puppets. Did you make it yourself? Although he didn't understand why Haruki was chatting with him and didn't kill him, he didn't even want to die, so he chatted with him. Speaking of which, Haruki was the first person to chat with him since his parents died. It's too weird. Chat with a hostile ninja. Technology is good, Haruki said with a smile. I've seen many of you Tsunade puppet masters, but at your age, it's the first person to have such a level. Sasori is a little strange. Is this boasting yourself? What is going on with the guy in front of you? But it's not perfect. Haruki shook his head. Have you heard of human puppets? Have heard. Sasori's heart was shocked slightly. Since learning about puppets from Chiyo, he has also come into contact with human puppets. Making people a puppet is a violation of Tsunade's rules, which is as bloody as a human experiment. Although he didn't care, he always felt a sense of contradiction when he said it from Shinshu. Are you not the praised medical ninja? But human puppets are also puppets. Have you ever thought that making puppets into humans might be even more shocking and beautiful? Is this possible? Sasori had never thought of such a thing, for a while, very uncertain. When a puppet awakens human consciousness, it becomes another human being, eternal and charming. Isn't this art? Haruki flicked the future Sasori of the Red Sand. No, it's not actually a flicker. He was talking about a robot or Gundam from a previous life. In a sense, what Sasori pursues can be realized by robots. Will not disappear, will not decay, will not rot, and even have intelligence. Eternal art. There was light in Sasori's small eyes, and his expression was no longer numb. It's funny, isn't it? Haruki patted his little head and said, I won't kill you, so I hope I can surprise me next time I meet. Also give you a little suggestion, do you want revenge? Think. Based on my understanding of Hitaki Tsukumo's strength, it is difficult for you to rely on human puppets to kill him. It takes a long time, and you have to be lucky to find several very powerful ninja puppets. But if you want to break into Konoha, still not enough for you to retreat. Haruki pointed out the window, unless it's the tail beast. Sasori looked at him subconsciously. Yes, tail beast. The powerful tail beast is enough to cause him to cause chaos in Konoha, and the possibility of him taking the opportunity to kill Hitaki Tsukumo increases greatly. Human puppet can use the ninjutsu and blood inheritance of his life. What if he is Jinchuriki? Haruki led the way and said, can you also control the tail beast? At this time, Gaara was born too early. Tsunade's Shozuru Jinchuriki should be part of the blessing. Sasori took a deep breath, feeling a little surging. He finally saw the hope of killing Hitaki Tsukumo. Haruki smiled. Although things may not be as good as Sasori thought, he is indeed happy now. Sorry. Haruki glanced at Sasori. His ending in the original book was not so good. But maybe it falls into his plan, but there is another way. At this moment, he finally had a feeling of being behind the scenes. His plan came after seeing Sasori. Because of his intervention, it is a question whether the Nine Tails chaos can happen again. But he needs a valid reason to deal with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. And Sasori is his spare. How to say, it can be considered prepared. Besides, there are still many problems to be solved. For example, Sho Crane attacked Konoha. Why should Nine Tails not let it take action? And how to protect Konoha's civilians. He didn't want to see a devastated Konoha, but Haruki didn't feel worried. Because his own strength is strong enough. If things go as he wants, it is naturally the best, if not, it is ruined. Thanks. Sasori doesn't know what will happen in his future, but the gratitude at this moment is from the heart. He has found his own way. He put away the two puppets and left the room. Haruki's busy day finally came to an end. The excitement returns to silence. As night fell, darkness shrouded. A new dawn is waiting for dawn. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 61 Haruki and Third Kage planted a seedling in the sand, marking the official end of the groundbreaking ceremony. Sand shinobi all around suddenly burst into applause. They have been in Tsunade for almost a month. What Haruki does every day is to take Tsunade and walk around and give guidance to newly established departments, such as the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Transportation, the Ministry of Mineral Resources, the Ministry of Environment, and the Ministry of Electricity. Today is the first day of the afforestation plan of the Ministry of Environment. Haruki remembered the groundbreaking ceremony in his previous life, so he suggested that Third Kage plant the first sapling by himself. Third Kage invited him to join him for the purpose of whining and thanking him. Haruki did not shirk either. It stands to reason that giving him a ninja who knows wood style will greatly reduce time. But Haruki doesn't have to expose herself, and on the other hand, it can also give civilians who have lost their livelihoods due to the war to have a job. Just like a railway tunnel, his earth style is also a natural fit. However, Haruki is not in a hurry. It takes time for things like fruits. At present, it is also making money with placer gold. But for such important things as placer gold, certainly not by rail. He plans to use Flying Thunder God technique to carry it, or let Tsunade control the sand by air. Haruki casually threw the shovel to Sand Shinobi who was aside. The young Sand Shinobi took it with admiration, not seeing the hatred he had when he first came. Not only him, but Sand Shinobi who had been in contact with Haruki had a 180-degree turn in his attitude within a month. In a sense, if Haruki wasn't Konoha's ninja, maybe the next Hokage could compete for one or two. In addition, Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Makoto have recently used a lot of facial and good feelings. In order not to make the two apprentices too bored, Haruki asked Third Kage to give them a lot of tasks. Fast and good. The task volume has reached Chunan's average level. Haruki intends to wait to return to Konoha and apply to Sarutobi Hiruzen to get them promoted to Chunin. In fact, with the feat of fighting against Tsunade last time, the three of them can be improved in an extraordinary way. But Haruki is too busy to forget. Speaking of which, I still feel a little unbelievable. Tsunade stood aside, watching the hot scene. Can they really achieve the effect you said, making the desert disappear? It is difficult to disappear completely, but it is easier to expand the oasis. Haruki touched her silver hair skillfully. Besides, compared to these, isn't the smile on these people's faces the most precious? Tsunade's eyes turned. Because of Haruki's suggestion, the civilians who participated in the tree planting operation accounted for more than 2/3 of the number. They all come from the border. When they first arrived, they all looked panicked. In their eyes, the ninja was almost the culprit who destroyed their homes. But after Tsunade provided food, clothing, housing, transportation, and work, they felt completely different, and many people even cried with excitement. This scene is truly unforgettable for Tsunade. It was difficult for her to understand their mood since she was a child, but she was still affected by emotions. Within a month, Tsunade saw something unprecedented. Once again, the aversion to war has reached its peak. She had never known before that it turned out that it was not Konoha or ninjas who suffered the most, but these civilians who suffered for no reason. Tsunade, Hokage shouldn't be a goal, shouldn't be the end result of a power struggle, nor should it be a dream. Haruki whispered, in his job, seek his place and fulfill his responsibilities. Hokage is just the beginning. I hope that one day everyone will be friendly and help each other, and every family will live and work in peace and contentment. There will be no difference and no war. He suddenly remembered a passage in the Book of Rights about the idea of great harmony in the world. The old have their end, the strong have their use, the young have their strengths, the widows, loneliness, and the sick can all have support. Tsunade raised his head. Haruki's handsome look was reflected in her eyes. The gold of the sun shrouded him, and the whole person seemed to be shining through. She lowered her head, and her heart beat suddenly, as if the young girl in the spring had seen her beloved male god. Her eyes were hot and filled with endless desire. She was afraid that she would not be able to control it the next moment, so she rushed forward. Tsunade finally understood why he liked him. As the saying goes, serious men are the most handsome. But a man who practices his ideals is equally exciting. At the first meeting, Tsunade only regarded Haruki as an orphan with a pitiful life experience but some talent for a medical ninja. In the Second Ninja World War, when others feared or respected her because of her identity and strength, he was the only one who truly understood her actions and ideals. After that, offensive and defensive are switched, and she has always been strong because she likes to start to understand Haruki. No, it should be said that she didn't really understand until then. A man who has a lofty ideal unique to the world of ninja, and at the same time is advancing toward this ideal. She has never heard or seen such a person. No, maybe her grandfather Senju Hashirama was a similar person. But the two are completely different. Although she offends her grandfather a bit, she agrees with Haruki's approach even more. She thought to herself, she is really an incompetent girlfriend. What are you thinking about? Seeing that she had been silent all the time, Haruki couldn't help but wonder if his words were so lethal. Can't understand? Or is it that the mind has not completely changed? He took Tsunade with everything he did these days, naturally to let her learn. After she became Hokage, she didn't need him to teach. The most important thing is the sublimation of ideas. From birth to the present, she has implemented the ninja's preparations and thoughts. Am I getting handsome again? Haruki groaned, because it was Tsunade, so he was not in a hurry and started to joke again. Shameless. Tsunade slapped his hand. Oh, so I don't need this face to be as handsome as you. Tsunade suddenly laughed, and what the hell did he explain? Although it is true in a sense, it is too damn it. If it weren't for the small woods in the wild, she would have to ask Haruki to confess her mistakes loudly. Haruki's eyes moved involuntarily, murderous look. Tsunade's face was full of murderous aura. He said haha, haha, what do you want to eat at noon at Tsunade today? I will cook it for you. Or let Minato and Makoto do it. Over the past month, the two of them barely reached half of my kitchen, artistic level. Tsunade gave him a blank look and snorted softly, I think Minato's level has almost surpassed you. What? Impossible. Haruki furiously, give him another 100 years and it won't be possible to surpass me. What is your weird desire to win? Tsunade couldn't help laughing, she wasn't angry at all. Others can say, but you can't. Haruki was a little aggrieved. The compliment you have said before is not as insulting as this sentence. This is the dignity peculiar to men. Tsunade was stunned, looked at him, and beckoned to him. Haruki bent down. Tsunade kissed him on the cheek, stretched out a finger to press on his lips, and smiled. In my heart, no one can surpass you even in 1,000 years. It's cooking, and I like it too. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 62 The Street, Diary. Summary. Ever since I wrote a novel, I have always liked to read the author's summary, probably because it resonates. Although it was a hit on the street, I also wrote a memorial and summarized some issues. In The Last Vest, I wrote about 1 million Model U fanfictions, and his achievements hit the street, and he was accused of editing and killing a new book. For almost a month, Tenten wrote the beginning. From Xingyue, Dragon Clan, Love Daily, Tokyo Monster, etc., they all failed. Later, thinking about the popularity of Hokage, maybe he could sign, so I wrote an article, but I didn't expect to sign it. But perhaps because of this, there are too many shortcomings and poor results. I didn't recommend it before 100,000 words. I remember only 500 collections. Now this week's small recommendations plus smart recommendations are a bit better, but follow-up reading is still very poor, more than 100. In other words, only 100 people can see my latest update. Ha ha ha, it's selling badly, maybe you can get more recommendation votes from the big guys. Next, let's talk about business. The first volume, Crimson Dawn. The name comes from a novel I have read. The foreword, only when we are awakened, the celestial dawn will break, not only the dawn, but also the sun. From Thoreau's, Walden. Anyway, it means the rise of modern thought in the ninja world. Due to my personal reasons, the early stage was too confusing. Behind the scenes, business, farming, and love, I want to write everything, but I write mediocre. My original plan was to write group portraits, but my level was not good enough, so I could only select key people and write a few. Such as Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina, Uchiha Makoto, Hyuga Hiyashi, etc. But it is still very tool-oriented. Character modeling has always been my weakness, and the problem in the last book is also very prominent. It is really difficult to improve. After all, online novels are about character creation. I also envy the ability to write vivid characters, such as watching Mystery and the Sword of Dawn. It is really amazing. In addition, there are many minor problems. In any case, I can only say that I have seen Hokage, not the party in the story party. When checking the information and writing, there were a lot of bugs. I can only say sorry for that. The content of the first volume is actually 3. One is to deal with Hyuga's family, the other is to accept Minato as apprentices, and the third is to develop the economy and make money. Reluctantly reach the goal. The second volume, Shingo Liaoyuan, has 3 main contents. The first is the teaching of the ninja school, which is mainly to reshape Uchiha Obito, and then undercover and engage in Madara. The second is the daily relationship with Tsunade. By the way, her thoughts have been completely changed, and then the marriage of Ben. I hope I will not write about a car rollover, after all, I am not an old driver. The third is the story of the Ninja 12 Guardians of the Land of Fire, which will probably lead Minato to the civilians of the Land of Fire. Of course, the big outbreak will be in the next volume. Others will be interspersed with plots of making money or throwing the pot away for Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. Some people mentioned the 40 ninjas of Hyuga's family and thought it was unnecessary to kill them, so I will patch them. The above is the summary of the first volume. In fact, writing novels is really a very difficult thing. When I go to work during the day, I think about the plot, let alone engage in entertainment. The games I played in the past, FGO, Ark, Azurite, etc., are about to become login-only games. Alas, sometimes I want to scold myself because of poor talent and lazy. Hope the next volume can be better written. Finally, thank you readers for your rewards, recommendations and comments. Basically, I will read the comments and I will reply to those who can reply. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 63 Kushina Haruki Look back, Tsunade has disappeared. After living for more than a month, I am a little bit reluctant to leave now. Although the process of trying to extract the knowledge of previous lives was painful, most of the people I met were good. Especially Sasori. Chatting with him about robots, Gundam, and even cyberpunk reminded him of the student career he missed in his previous life. Haruki retracted his sight. Next time I come here, it should no longer be full of yellow sand, and perhaps a green shelter forest that looks like a natural barrier will rise up from the ground. This is the great cause of human beings against nature. Haruki originally planned to go back with Flying Thunder God, but when he thought of the border town he saw when he came, he changed to walking. Hyuga Seion and Hyuga Sayori stayed at Tsunade, so there is no need to use a carriage. After traveling in a hurry, approaching the country of fire, I gradually saw the town. To Haruki's comfort, Third Cage did what he ordered. The buildings in the town were renovated and most people were hired to repair roads or plant trees. Haruki deliberately asked about the situation, and learned that Third Cage's salary was not low, far more than the civilians made before they encountered the war. All in all, a thriving picture. Even Tsunade, Namikaze Minato and Uchiha Mikoto are in a good mood. Mikoto is pure and kind. Tsunade and Minato think more. After learning about Haruki's ideals, Tsunade has been thinking about what he can do for these people after becoming Hokage. The changes in Tsunade are certainly good, but people cannot be generalized, and the situation in villages is different from village to village. There are Sarutobi Hiruzen and others in Konoha village. They are relatively wealthy. If you want to promote it, you will not necessarily succeed. Tsunade has gradually been able to analyze the complex situation in Konoha village. But because of this, she is more worried than ever. And Minato remembered the system problem Haruki said. He vaguely felt that everything he saw before him was nothing but a beautiful illusion. Now it is only maintained by Tsunade. The essence has not changed, but it has been alleviated. He thought of Konoha again. Perhaps Konoha's problem was more serious. The two of them will not talk about their minds for the time being, while the other is like a gunpowder keg, exploding at one point. Uzumaki Kushina. When the four people arrived at the gate of Konoha village, they saw such a scene. A young girl with long red hair, her delicate face full of anger, her hands on her hips, her eyes fierce. Teacher. She was very loud and very aggrieved. Why leave me in Konoha village? 1 month, do you know how I got here this month? She pouted her mouth, rolled up her cuffs, showing her small fist, and questioned viciously. Haruki smiled awkwardly. To be honest, he was also wronged. After sending Kushina to Uzumaki Mito to study, he took Minato and them to Tsunade. I thought I would be back in a few days, so I didn't tell Kushina. But I didn't expect this to go, almost 2 months. Teacher, speak up. Kushina shook her small fist vigorously. You have the ability to throw me at Konoha village, why don't you talk now? Haruki suddenly felt a little bit dumbfounded. Although it's really too much to be a 12-year-old girl as a teacher, why does this sound like a guilty man? When Haruki thought of this, he picked up Namikaze Minato on his side and threw it over. I will let Minato explain it to you. Minato hadn't thought of such a thing at all, and hadn't even reacted yet, and was about to hit Kushina. In order not to take advantage, he just wanted to run, but immediately found that his chakra could not be used. His eyes widened, and he suddenly remembered his teacher's dark-bellied character. But Minato didn't run into it in the end, because Kushina threw him back directly. I do not want. Namikaze Minato slapped a question mark in his heart. Haruki took Minato, restored his chakra, smiled and said, the three of you haven't seen each other for a long time. There must be a lot to say, so the teacher won't bother you. After speaking, he pulled Tsunade and disappeared in place. Kushina was stunned, her pale face flushed with anger and her mouth turned up high. Damn it. She stomped her feet fiercely, and after venting, looked at Uchiha Mikoto. That. Kushina. Mikoto opened his mouth and didn't know what to say for a while. Kushina was so angry that she ran up to her, stood on tiptoe and stretched out her hand to pinch her cheek and gently tugged. An emoji package appeared suddenly. Really flattering, JPG. You are my best friend, you didn't tell me before you left. Sorry, I'm sorry, I thought I would be back soon. Because of being pinched, Makoto's voice also whimpered. Humph, Kushina let go. After all, she was her friend and believed her. Then, seeing the pinch marks on her beautiful face, she curled her lips and stretched out her hand again, but this time she didn't have much power. Makoto smiled slightly, feeling Kushina's delicate little hands, gently massaging her face. She touched Kushina's long red hair and said, "Thank you." Kushina's eyes reddened, hugged her, buried her head on her chest, and muttered, "It's all big bad guys. Leave without saying anything, making people so worried." Makoto patted her on the back without speaking. She knew Kushina's mood. Because after the extermination, she, Minato and Haruki were her most important people. It's all the teacher's fault. Makoto didn't hesitate to shake the pot. She smiled, waiting for tomorrow. How about the three of us giving him a welcome gift? Kushina raised her head instantly, her eyes bright. How to do it? The three of us practiced pretendingly and attacked him when he was unprepared. Can it be done? Kushina frowned. The teacher is so good, we can't beat it. Hey, don't raise other people's ambitions. Makoto squeezed her nose. The strength of the three of us is more than enough to face Jonin. Besides, we are in the dark now, and the teacher is completely unprepared. Kushina laughed suddenly, rubbed Makoto's arms, and said, I must teach the teacher a lesson. Then he turned his head to look at Namikaze Minato. How about you? You are not going to Gao me? Certainly not. Namikaze Minato simply agreed, and he wanted revenge. It was really hateful to just throw him out, especially Kushina's attitude towards Haruki. Sure enough, he is the enemy of his life. Haruki, who had returned home at this time, didn't even know that his three apprentices were preparing to rebel. Does it really matter? I think your apprentice is about to cry? Tsunade saw him lying on the sofa, looking like a salted fish, and couldn't help shaking his head. She still likes the Haruki who strategizes at Tsunade. It doesn't matter. Haruki beckoned to her. Tsunade stepped forward. He grabbed Tsunade, causing her to fall on his body, put his arms around her slender drum, and smiled. The important thing now is to have a good rest. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 64. Playing Ball in My Dream Fushi Heiko Huen Quan Huji Ju Dian Rakuten Travel HK. 854 Hong Kong dollars Rakuten Travel. Ri Ben Xing Ne Ling Xian Wang Sheng Lu Sheng Shi. Haruki didn't know when he fell asleep. He just remembered that he was chatting with Tsunade. It may be because of the long journey, the body is a little tired, talking, lost energy, and went to sleep. There is something soft in the confusion, it's like a pillow. He bought a pillow because of insomnia in his previous life. He likes to hold it while sleeping, and he feels very stable. So Haruki hugged the sweet and soft thing very skillfully, and gradually lost consciousness. Too comfortable, he dreamed of playing basketball with Tsunade, and then he was hit by the ball several times. But it's not very painful. After all, this life is a ninja with first-class physical quality. After waking up from the dream, he opened his eyes and suddenly felt his head pressed by the ball. Are you still dreaming? Haruki, who had just woke up, was a little dazed, subconsciously pushing twice, and suddenly he felt a very elastic collision. He raised his head slightly and saw Tsunade's sleeping face through the gap of the ball. Haruki finally understood what was going on. He and Tsunade talked too late last night and fell asleep directly. But because the sofa was too narrow, Tsunade slept uncomfortably, so he simply sat up with his head pillowed. You're awake. Tsunade noticed the movement and immediately stretched her waist. She didn't sleep well. Haruki kept making trouble in the middle of the night. Haruki only saw a wave of waves before her eyes. He immediately got up, suppressing the upward trend. Although it was a normal reaction in the morning, he was a very serious person. In order to avoid misunderstandings, he had to cover it up. Woo. Tsunade made a cute voice in the second half of stretching, but because it was Haruki, he didn't care about his rudeness. She remembered something, looked at Haruki, and asked, Did you have a dream last night? How did you know? I said a dream. Haruki touched his forehead subconsciously. He was hit by basketball several times. Tsunade's face turned red when he saw his movements. It was more than a dream. He was still grabbing with his hands, talking about layups, shots, three-pointers, and so on. Baffling. She resisted the shame in her heart and changed the subject. Let's go to wash the Su. Oh, Haruki thought she seemed a little strange, but she didn't ask anything, just because she got up. After all, everyone is angry about getting up. Give. Haruki squeezed the toothpaste for Tsunade and handed it to her. Tsunade took a glass of water and started brushing his teeth. The white foam immediately filled his mouth. What do you want to eat this morning? Haruki asked, stopping the movement in his hands. Tsunade vomited the liquid in his mouth and said, Whatever is okay, it doesn't have to be too much trouble. I want to go to the medical class early. That's it. Haruki thought for a moment. The simplest thing is bread and milk. Yes. Tsunade finished washing and put down the water cup and toothbrush. Yeah, Haruki came to the kitchen, took the bread and milk out of the refrigerator, warmed it up for a while, and the breakfast was completed. I wonder what happened to those guys in the medical class. Tsunade took a sip of milk and picked up a piece of bread. No, now you and the others are too gentle. I'm afraid they won't be able to cure this group of bear children. It's okay. Haruki raised his fist and shook. You are Tsunade. You are welcome, and teach them well. Tsunade glared at him. Am I a violent man in your heart? Why does this have something to do with me again? Haruki couldn't help but cried out injustice. You just can't be too used to dealing with bear kids, otherwise things will happen. This is the experience of his two lives. Children are cute, but some are really outrageous and ignorant. They need timely education, otherwise they will be more troublesome when they grow up. Tsunade was amused by his expression and asked, What are you doing today? I'll go to Hokage's office first. Haruki sandwiched the cheese with 2 slices of bread, took a bite, and the sweetness of the cheese suddenly dispersed. What are you looking for a teacher for? Help Minato apply for the Chunin exam. Haruki said. Although the Chunin examination in the original work is a joint examination in several Darin villages, special circumstances are handled specially. As long as Hokage speaks, he can naturally be promoted to Chunin. The Minato trio have indeed reached Chunin's level. Tsunade nodded. I don't know where your luck came from. I found 3 such talented apprentices. Of course, I'm not lucky. Haruki pointed to his eyes. I am a pair of eyes that can see the future. Do you think you are Toad Sage? Tsunade couldn't help but complain. Haruki shrugged. The toad that had lived for a long time in the holy land of Mount Myoboku claimed to be the life and death mate of Sage of 6 Paths, and therefore used a prophecy to trick Jiraiya into running around for it all his life. Without it, maybe Jiraiya's life is another wonderful one. The scene of Jiraiya's death in his previous life deceived him a lot of tears. After eating, Tsunade ran to wash the dishes as always. Haruki chatted with her a few words. But because of this, there are only 2 pairs of tableware and chopsticks, which can be washed in a few minutes. The two changed their clothes and came to the street together. In the early summer morning, when the sun appeared very early, Chingshu saw a few passers-by, and he spread his hands. Tsunade immediately understood what he meant and curled his lips, but still hugged him. 2 people quietly enjoyed the beautiful morning. After a while, Haruki squeezed her face and said, I was reluctant to hold it, but you were the one who didn't want to let it go. I didn't. Tsunade released him quickly. With a bang, the smoke cleared, and no one was seen. Haruki touched his nose. Really not Frank. He came to Hokage's office. Probably because in the morning, he saw Sarutobi Hiruzen without waiting too long. Haruki slapped the air in front of him to dissipate the smell of smoke, and said, Master Hokage, regular smoking is not good for your health. Tsunade also said that future children want to worship at your door. That's what she really said. Sarutobi Hiruzen touched the pipe, feeling happy. I didn't expect this child to care about the elderly too. She has always cared about you, but she doesn't speak much. Haruki said with a smile. Anyway, Sarutobi Hiruzen will not find Tsunade to testify, he can say anything. Brushing up the favorability rating for Tsunade might have some unexpected effects. Sure enough, it's different after falling in love. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with emotion, Tsunade has grown up too. In the original book, his 3 apprentices are actually not worrying. His favorite Orochimaru defected and killed his teacher. Master Hokage, I came here today to apply for the Chunin exam for 3 of my students. Minato, Makoto, and Kushina. Sarutobi Hiruzen said after a little thought, I already know their strengths. You don't need to be assessed, just get promoted. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 65 Hokage Secretary. Hearing that Sarutobi Hiruzen said that there is no need for assessment, Haruki was not surprised. Because Hokage has many sources of information. Just like Anbu that exists in Dongchang, and Hokage's special desire to spy, telescope technique. The whole Konoha is familiar to Sarutobi Hiruzen. What's more, Namikaze Minato's performance in the last war was extremely good, and they have long been on his watch list. No, it should be said that Sarutobi Hiruzen is particularly regretful now. I regret that he missed this civilian genius ninja because he paid more attention to Uchiha Makoto and Uzumaki Kushina. If Namikaze Minato worshipped his 3 disciples, he would not have to be the heir of the will to sorrow. Fortunately, things can be undone. As long as Tsunade and Haruki marry, Namikaze Minato will also be marked as Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Haruki. In fact, Namikaze Minato has learned Flying Thunder God technique and is already an orthodox heir of Hokage. After all, everyone knows that this ninjutsu comes from second Hokage Senju Tobarama. I didn't expect that Haruki asked for the Book of Seal for Namikaze Minato. I really don't know how this guy recognized his talent. I heard that you did a lot of great things at Tsunagaku. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and exhaled a faint circle of smoke in a casual tone. It's not a big deal, Haruki smiled. It's nothing more than some of their resources. As mentioned earlier, since Sarutobi Hiruzen knows the situation of the 3 Minato, he will definitely know his situation in Tsunagaku. After all, because of his special identity, he abducted his apprentice for another month. He didn't realize that he was not third Hokage either. But Haruki was not worried about what he would do to himself because of this. Because the idea of third Hokage is too old. He didn't think what Haruki was doing was so great, on the contrary, he thought it was a waste of time. If he really has economic acumen and sense of smell, Konoha would not have been relying on the country of fire for economic assistance for decades. According to Sarutobi Hiruzen, ninjas were born for missions. What are civilians? Their only role is to produce food and provide taxes. As a high-ranking beneficiary in an extraordinary society, Sarutobi Hiruzen is unable to recognize the power and importance of people, let alone promote social development and improve their lives. As long as it does not affect Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen will not look at these people. Resources. Are you talking about gold dust? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked, recalling the report that Anbu had provided him some time ago. Afforestation is useless. Because Konoha is a huge death forest, it can only provide training venues and game. The underground railway is useless, how could a ninja use this kind of railway? He only heard that the distant snow country had this thing. As for what wind power generation is, he doesn't like it. Konoha has already been energized. After thinking about it, only placer gold trading is more in line with Haruki's expectations. Yes, the rest of the transactions are meant to deceive them. Hokage sir, think about it, now they are defeated and should be recuperating, but because of my word, I wasted a lot of resources. I am afraid that Tsunade will not be able to invade my Konoha village in 10 years. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes lit up, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that Haruki made sense. What they are doing now is nothing but a waste of time and energy. Haruki. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at him, you did a good job this time, but you didn't expect your mind to be good. Thank you Hokage-sama for the compliment, this is what you usually learn from Hokage. Haruki flattered quietly. Sure enough, his plans were useless projects in the eyes of laymen or ninjas. Well, he experienced the dimensionality reduction blow once again. Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face smiled even more. Look, he deserves to be his apprentice-in-law, can talk, much better than Tsunade. That guy will only piss him off. I think you are very interested in economics, why not be my secretary? Huh, Haruki looked at him in surprise, waved his hand and said, it's okay to ask me to do a little business, but let me be in charge of Konoha's finances. Hokage-sama is too dear to me. As Hokage, there are special guards and think tanks. The think tank is also the secretary group, and the person in charge is usually the head of the Nara family. For example, Nara Shikamaru's father, Nara Shikahisa, has a very high IQ, the captain of the Konoha village Jonin squad, and even later replaced 4th Raikage as the commander of the ninja coalition. The ninjas licensed by their family can still discuss politics in the land of fire. But the secretarial team is definitely more than one person. In fact, it's nothing big. Most of Konoha's income comes from the aid of the Fire Country daimyo. The remaining small part is firstly the commission for the ninja missions, and the second is the taxation of the major ninja and civilian businesses. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and said, you don't have to worry about not understanding, just leave it to your subordinates. The reason why you leave it to you is because you are someone I trust. You look at them and I feel more at ease. Haruki was stunned, thinking for a moment, and said, since it's Master Hokage's request, I will do my best. This is a surprise. In an instant, he thought of many ways to make money. All in all, the status of economic secretary has given him great convenience. After leaving Hokage Pavilion, Haruki came to the third exercise field. According to Konoha's rules, Genin cannot receive the task alone, but Chunin can receive it in a team. But the 3 of Namikaze Minato are now Genin, so they can only practice ninjutsu. He rushed over, naturally to tell them the good news about being promoted to Chunin. Because he does not usually have time to take them to do tasks, and the ninja school has to go to class, but blindly training is not beneficial, actual combat can get the fastest improvement. Little guy, long time no see. In the place where Haruki usually rests, the little fox he gave to Kushina was found on a huge tree trunk that runs across the river. At this time, it looks grown up a lot, somewhat rounded. But it does not affect its cuteness. He proficiently stroked the fox's head a few times, looked around, and saw Namikaze Minato who was jumping on the tree and leaping over, seeming to be practicing Flying Thunder God technique. But I did not see Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Makoto. After a while, Makoto appeared in front of him. Teacher, why are you here now? I went to Hokage Pavilion, so I was late. Where is Kushina? She is practicing the sealing technique over there, I will inform her. I'll go with you. Haruki put down the little fox and stood up. Okay, teacher. Makoto led the way and entered the forest. The huge trees obscured the sky, and his vision dimmed suddenly. After a few seconds, Makoto suddenly turned his head. Teacher. How? Haruki was in a trance suddenly. In front of him, Makoto's 3 Tomo Sharingan spun rapidly, and the gloomy and huge chakra spewed out like mercury. In order to make Haruki illusion, she not only does not talk about martial arts by surprise, but also comes with an illusion that she can perform to the maximum extent. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 66. Haruki's body shook, and suddenly he was dull and regained consciousness. Illusion essentially uses the five senses as a medium to interfere with chakra and cause it to fall into hallucinations. But Haruki has wood style, his own chakra volume is extremely large, and the system in his body does not allow him to be controlled. Uchiha Makoto in front of him has disappeared. It seems that his three apprentices also know that illusion is of little use to him. The calm expression on Haruki's face changed slightly. He looked down, and the thick chains entangled his feet. It should be the adamantine sealing chains cast by Uzumaki Kushina in the distance when he was in a trance. Haruki made a hard effort, but it didn't break. Kushina has made great progress. Whether it's control ability or the speed of ninjutsu, they are much stronger than before. At this moment, there was a sound of wind over his head, and kunai fell like raindrops. A reflection flashed in Haruki's eyes, and a short sword appeared in his hand. With a shock, all kunai was cut in half. Namikaze Minato's eyes widened in secret. Is there such an operation? He had never seen Haruki using the sword, but it was undoubtedly effective. His flying thunder god technique and kunai were completely destroyed. But he was not in a hurry. There was another change in the field. The broken karma was scattered, the air suddenly burned, dozens of fireballs vibrated at high speed, covering all the sunny trees. He directly released short sword. A white streamer suddenly tore the curtain of fire. At this moment, Haruki heard the sound of metal colliding. One of the fireballs unexpectedly revealed a bitterness. Namikaze Minato immediately appeared on top of his head, and the rapidly spinning chakra swept away the remaining flames and patted Haruki directly. Good cooperation. Haruki immediately admired that the attack by the three of them was never a temporary intention, but a long-planned attack. Okay, my apprentice's wings are stiff. With a hook with his hand, the invisible chakra connected to the flying short sword, turned back, and slashed towards Namikaze Minato. The direct end of the same. But to Haruki's surprise, Minato didn't dodge or hide, his eyes condensed between the sparks, and it turned out to be a clone. After seeing this, Haruki's free left hand gushed out of chakra, instantly forming a wind blade, cutting Rasengan open, and then short sword inserted into Minato's body, and the clone disappeared. He held short sword again. Teacher, be careful. Uzumaki Kushina's voice suddenly appeared behind him. Haruki turned his head and saw her palm printed on her body. The black Uzumaki suddenly unfolded, and several ink dots were extended. Is the Sixiong seal? Haruki felt a slight sluggishness in chakra in his body. But he didn't care, and flicked Kushina's forehead with his left finger. She exclaimed in pain, her slightly trembling hands blasted out directly into a fist. She will naturally do physical exercises. Haruki controlled, and slashed her fist with a knife, and suddenly the girl's exclamation sounded again. She gave him a faint look. Haruki shrugged. But for a moment, Namikaze Minato appeared abruptly, kunai pressed his neck. Teacher, you lost. Kushina immediately staged a Sichuan opera to change her face, triumphantly patted Minato on the shoulder, and smiled, unexpectedly. I was careless. Haruki looked down at the flying thunder god technique that had just appeared in the place where the four-elephant seal had just appeared. It turned out that the four-elephant seal was just a blinding technique, including Kushina's series of reactions to him. Although it is because of his release of water, it is really rare to be able to do this. After all, the real strength of him now has almost no rivals in the shinobi world that is currently on the bright side. If it is true, the first adamantine sealing chains will not be effective. I think that in a few years, Namikaze Minato will be able to compete with 4th Raikage and Killer Bee. What if Kushina and Makoto are added? It must be quite interesting. Namikaze Minato put away kunai, and glanced at Kushina who had just patted her shoulder, suddenly feeling a little bit happy. And Makoto also appeared in time. Tell you good news. Haruki threw out 3 sets of Chunan's clothes and smiled. From today, you are Chunan. Kushina was stunned. Before she woke up from the joy of defeating the teacher, she ushered in another joy. Except for a handful of people, the most important thing for a ninja is level promotion. She cheered, hugged Chunan's clothes, resisted the urge to change clothes on the spot, and said, thank you, teacher. Minato and Makoto are more stable, but the expressions on their faces are also very happy. There is no need to be excited. With your strength, you will be promoted to Jonin soon within 2 or 3 years. Haruki smiled. Kakashi can become Jonin at the age of 12. Although it is because of the war, the 3 people in front of him will never be weaker than Kakashi. HMPH, I forgive you. Kushina said with a look of Tsunade. It turned out to be for this reason, no wonder the 3 of you gave me a surprise today. Haruki reached out and knocked Kushina on the head, making her another Byakugan. Well, after you become Chunin, you can pick up tasks on your own. The teacher has no time to accompany you because he is going to class. Minato and Makoto, remember to take good care of Kushina. Hey, I don't need to take care of it. I just made a lot of credit. Kushina retorted subconsciously, but then reacted and immediately raised her head. Teacher, won't you come with us? Yeah, Haruki couldn't help but said looking at her collapsed expression, what's the matter? You want to become Hokage, Don't you want to be a teacher? Humph, who can't bear you? Kushina immediately became full of energy. Namikaze Minato couldn't help showing envious eyes. But fortunately, the enemy of his life wants to leave them, and his chances are even greater. Haruki nodded in satisfaction. Kushina's character really made him like it. But it has nothing to do with love, more like a daughter. And Makoto and Minato are too mature to be a real master-disciple relationship. Let's go to my house for lunch. Haruki uses a gourmet temptation. Kushina's eyes lit up immediately. I am angry, but I still have to eat. I come. Namikaze Minato hurriedly said, Kushina, I have been studying with the teacher for a while, and now the cooking skills are very good. It's like a little boy who is asking for credit for his beloved girl. Haruki also added and said, it's really okay. Let's let Minato make some dishes at noon. Kushina will be a judge. If it doesn't taste good, Minato will agree to Kushina's request. What do you think? Good, Kushina said immediately. She glanced at Minato dissatisfied. She wanted to see how this guy has the ability to dare to say that he is good at cooking in front of the teacher. And Namikaze Minato looked at Haruki gratefully. Only he knows that whether it is delicious or not, he is invincible. After all, the two will have an intersection. He couldn't help sighing. He deserves to be the man who won Tsunade. It is worth learning by himself. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 67 Barefoot. Uzumaki Kushina widened her beautiful eyes, biting a piece of meat in her mouth, and the fat but not greasy smell filled her mouth. How about it? Namikaze Minato kept staring at her expression, and after noticing the change, she was looking forward to waiting for her answer. Just so. Kushina swallowed the food in her mouth and reluctantly replied. Minato's eyes lit up. This is almost the highest evaluation he has ever heard. Then Kushina owes Minato a promise. Haruki smiled and nodded, and when Kushina wanted to retort, she said, I wish to accept the bet and no regrets. All right. Kushina snorted, but the chopsticks kept on. She is actually the nature of a child. Haruki touched her red hair and said, the three of you are eating here. I'll go to see your wife. After the meal, help me lock the door. Go and do whatever you want. Kushina knew that he was bringing lunch for Tsunade and nodded consciously. After Haruki left, Minato suddenly said, the teacher will definitely not have time to cook for us in the future, so let me do it. Then you have to work harder. Kushina looked at him with a serious expression and said, Ms. Haruki's cooking is delicious. This is natural. Minato was stunned and smiled. Haruki's figure appeared in Tsunade's office. It was already noon, and her course was over long ago. What's the dish today? Tsunade was not surprised by his appearance. He used to bring himself lunch before. Twice cooked pork. Haruki opened the lunch box, and the rich aroma immediately filled. Tsunade's nose twitched slightly, but he hesitated when he saw the attractive but fat dishes. No way, if this goes on, I will definitely be fatter than Shinobi. She held up the dishes with a sad look. Then you eat or not? Haruki squeezed her nose and asked. Eat. Tsunade was extremely tragic, like rushing to the execution ground. It's okay. Haruki couldn't help but smile. I just don't dislike you. Dare you? Tsunade raised his eyelids. I totally blame you for this. Do you dare to despise me? Okay. Blame me, eat quickly. Haruki looked at her with a smile. After taking a few bites, Tsunade was a little unnatural, and said, could you not stare at me? It's hard for me to eat. Haruki blinked, got up and took a glass of water and placed it in front of her. Did not bother her again. He came to the sofa aside, took out the scroll, and looked at the lucky one who was about to be his student. Under the privilege of the vice principal, Haruki made the guys familiar from previous lives gather together. For example, Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Lin, Morino Ibiki, Yurihong, Sarutobi Asuma, etc. Almost all are the backbone of Jonin in the future. The only pity is that the two good friends Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi have not yet been born. He was thinking about one thing. The two theoretical courses set up alone cannot satisfy him. Perhaps more courses can be added. Find a way to let these little guys experience the 9-year compulsory education in their previous lives. After Tsunade finished his meal, he put away the lunchbox, and saw Haruki's serious face. Suddenly he had an idea. She stood up quietly, approached quietly, hugging him from behind. Haruki suddenly felt the two heavy and soft peaks on his back. This is your student. Tsunade saw the list and put his head on his shoulder. Haruki turned her head slightly and unexpectedly kissed her on the cheek. What? Tsunade couldn't help squeezing his face with his hands, but the corners of his mouth curled up with a nice touch. I'm telling you about business. I'm talking about business. Haruki grabbed her wrist, stroked the delicate skin, and finally held her fingers, guiding it to land on a name on the scroll. Shizune, she has a good medical talent, maybe she can become your apprentice. In the original book, Shizune is not as good as Haruno Sakura, but medical ninjutsu is really good. He has a low-key personality, calm, and often supervises the lazy Tsunade. Her uncle is Kato Dan. Although Haruki did not know Tsunade, the ending remains the same. He died on the battlefield not long ago. Oh, Tsunade became interested, she was quite approving of Haruki's gaze. When you are free, you can see her. Haruki released her hand and said. Okay. Tsunade nodded, and then asked, how about you? It depends on the situation. Haruki did not decide whether or not to accept disciples. Although Jonin can lead the team repeatedly, this year, it is nothing more than Kakashi, Obito and Nohara Lin who have a major impact on the plot. However, there is no need to rob the apprentice of the apprentice. Tsunade didn't ask why. She let go of the sunny tree and returned to the office chair. Haruki suddenly lost her soft touch, and couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. Why not sit on the sofa? I'm afraid to disturb you. Quote. Haruki put up the scroll and said, I have finished reading it. Tsunade heard what he meant, and it was funny and helpless to see him with a serious look. She came to him and sat down. How about a massage for you? Haruki rubbed his palms and smiled. Where is the massage? Tsunade gave him a blank look. If you want to take advantage, just say it. Heaven and earth conscience. Haruki said grimly, I am not such a person. Tisk. Tsunade sipped, his face full of disgust, don't I know you yet? But I don't think I understand enough, I can go deeper. Your cheek is really thick. Tsunade couldn't help shaking her head, and then she lifted her foot, if you want a massage, It depends on whether you dare. What's not dare to do? Haruki took off her sandals and exposed her white toes. Tsunade is still too simple. I don't know that there is a creature called LSP in this world. Their XP is quite strange. But he thinks he is normal, and he doesn't like others except Tsunade. Haruki put her long legs on her knees and rubbed her hands on the backs and soles of her feet. Itchy. Tsunade pulled her foot back subconsciously, but was immobilized and unable to move. Don't move. Haruki stopped teasing her feet, massaging her crystal toes. Speaking of which, you don't seem to like wearing socks. It's cooler if you don't wear it. With that said, Haruki remembers that her clothes have not changed in 10,000 years. The inside is a close-fitting sleeveless, kimono-like blouse, while the outside is a green long gown with a rim. Next time, I will buy some clothes with you. Haruki said while rubbing. Clothes. Tsunade said without realizing it, I'm okay with this set, I don't need to change it. Just go shopping. That's fine. Tsunade thought that he didn't seem to go shopping with Haruki, so he didn't refuse. She glanced at her barefoot Haruki and asked softly, is it easy to touch? Normally, no sensuality. Haruki raised his head and said with a shrug. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 68. Hey, are you okay? Haruki stepped forward and held the trembling Tsunade. You didn't hurt it. Tsunade complained and bent down and rubbed his ankles. It's the reason why you maintain a posture for a long time. Haruki squatted in front of her, stretched out her hands, and the green chakra wandered around her legs. Tsunade subconsciously let out a coquettish tremor with an overly numb sense of comfort. When she recovered, her face flushed, and she shouted in shame, Haruki. You can't blame me for this, right? Haruki spread out his hands innocently, I kindly treat you, but you couldn't help it. Blame you. Tsunade at this moment is like Steam G, with extreme shame, making her ears red and bloodshot. Haruki was slightly startled. The golden light of summer Madara slowly fainted on her ripe apple-like cheeks, her big beautiful eyes were full of shyness and dodge, but the whole body exuded a mature style. What? Tsunade could not help asking when he saw him suddenly look demented. But after such an interruption, her emotions barely returned to calm. Tsunade. Haruki murmured, you are so beautiful. Tsunade didn't expect him to suddenly come out such a sentence, suppressing the smile that came out of the corner of his mouth, and said, don't think that you praise me, I will forgive you. Haruki stretched out her hand to pinch her chin, and said in a serious tone, I know that I am deeply guilty, so please don't pity Princess Tsunade, punish me as much as you want, destroy the body or torture the soul, leave it to your disposal, do whatever you want. Tsunade's expression gradually changed. She originally saw Haruki with such an attitude and thought that he had known his mistake, but the second half of the sentence became clear, and the more he said it, the more it was wrong. Go to hell. Tsunade disappeared in front of him, leaving only 2 words of anger. Hey, are you willing? Haruki raised an eyebrow, but didn't get a response. It's so fast. He sorted his clothes until there was nothing wrong with him, and came to the classroom where he was attending class. Class A for the 1st grade. Although school has started for 3 months, it is the first time he has met with his students as a teacher. Hello everyone. Haruki knocked on the blackboard, and the lively classroom was immediately attracted by him. So handsome. A little girl subconsciously exclaimed in the silence. When she recovered, she quickly covered her face, very embarrassed. Good vision. What's your name? Haruki looked at the little girl with red eyes and had a guess in her heart. Sun is red. Haruki smiled. It really was her. A rare ninja who specializes in illusion in the original book, the childhood sweetheart of Sarutobi Asuma, son of 3rd Hokage. In many fan fictions, she often plays the role of heroine or heroine. After all, she looks pretty. Sarutobi Asuma is really miserable. There are tragic characters everywhere. I think some of you have guessed who I am. Haruki locked Hitaki Kakashi in the back row, with a white hair and a cold look, which was really eye-catching. Although there is no Sharingan, he still wears a black mask. And next to him is Lin Nohara. Long brown hair and dark brown pupils, matched with the two purple patterns on the face, are also highly recognizable. Your teacher in charge of missing 3 months, Haruki. Haruki picked up the roster, raised his hand to suppress the sudden comment, and said, I've seen your information, but it's the first time I saw each other. Hitaki Kakashi. Kakashi was stunned, and raised his small hand. He is actually familiar with Haruki. At home, Dad Hitaki Sakumo often mentioned Haruki, saying that he has superb medical skills and resourceful. Haruki nodded, and continued to roll the call without saying anything. A few minutes later, he put away the roster and said, very well, except for Uchiha Obito, everyone else is here. Unsurprisingly, Obito is late. Presumably he should be helping the old lady to cross the road at this time. Remind in advance that I am different from the teachers you know. A smile appeared on Haruki's face. This time he was not only teaching politics and history, but a real teacher, like Yumino Iruka, who is equivalent to the class teacher. The courses of the ninja school are mainly these categories: ninjutsu, physique, individual, group, tactics, and theory. Today is his first class. According to the curriculum, it should be a team class. Just as he was about to speak, Uchiha Obito ran up outside the door. Old teacher, I'm late, you don't need to say, I will stop. He was panting and talking, and when he noticed it was Haruki, he froze immediately. The atmosphere created by Haruki was suddenly destroyed, and the classroom was full of joy. Obito ignored the ridicule of his classmates, he had long been used to it. But the devil in front of him reminded him of that humiliating night, his body danced in humiliating clothes in humiliating music. Because he hadn't seen it for too long, he thought that Haruki was just frightening him by saying that he became his teacher, but he didn't expect it to come. Obito felt desperate when he thought of spending 8 or 9 years with him. What are you laughing at? Haruki said in a calm tone, does it make you happy to laugh at your classmates? The classroom suddenly became quiet. Obito was a little puzzled and stunned. He looked at the calm Haruki and noticed his hidden anger. I thought your class A was the best student in this class, but, even the most basic respect for people can't do it. It really disappoints me. Haruki's eyes swept across the crowd. Everyone bowed their heads and remained silent. Only Obito seemed to have something tossing in his heart. He lost his parents since childhood and was raised by his grandmother, but for various reasons, he became the tail of a crane and was laughed at by his classmates. Naturally, he didn't get a good face in Uchiha. The reason why he likes Nohara Lin is because she is the only one waiting for herself who is late. Obito, go sit down, there are no penalty stops in my class. Yes, Obito said loudly. He returned to his seat, smiled at Rin Nohara, and glared at Kakashi again. Idiot. Kakashi answered as always, without even looking at him. His current interest lies in the new teacher, Haruki, and he has to say that he has already experienced a completely different feeling just after meeting each other for a while. In that case, our first class today, classmate. Haruki wrote the words classmate and smiled. Someday in the future, you will understand how precious the classmates you met in your childhood are, but now, we start to have classes. He suddenly understood that what he wanted to teach now was not ideological and political, but ideological and moral. Countless facts have proved the importance of ideological education and the 3 outlooks. If Haruki only gave them the dragon-slaying technique, someone would go astray one day, and he didn't want to trigger the Hokage master-killing tradition. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 69. Obito Transformation in Progress. Obito, come here. After class, Haruki waved from the podium. Uchiha Obito, who was about to chat with Rin Nohara, suddenly solidified his smile. He turned his head stiffly and pointed at himself. Me. Is there a second person named Obito? Haruki put away the textbook and smiled. Obito stopped talking, but he obediently came to Haruki and asked, Teacher, what's the matter? I can't find you if I'm okay. No, I didn't mean that. Obito shook his head quickly, fearing his slowness might make him unhappy, and called himself a dress. He really believed in evil, thinking that women's clothing would be liked by Nohara Lin. But the result is not only nothing, but Kakashi's merciless ridicule. Now arguing with him, totally arguing. Kakashi's sentence, you dress up in women's clothing, was over 1,000,000 words, and he broke his defense directly, and he was so angry that he wanted to kill this guy, but the most annoying was that he couldn't beat it. As a teacher, we must keep abreast of students' conditions. Haruki walked towards the office and said, for example, you are late today. Obito was stunned, as if it was the first time a teacher asked this question. His former teacher never refused to listen to his explanation. No, it should be said that after being late many times, his explanation has been useless. In addition, his performance in various tests is extremely bad, not to mention the type that the teacher likes. In the eyes of the teacher, He has long been an image of playfulness and dislike of learning, and he may not be able to change it for a lifetime. It's because the neighbor's grandmother crossed the road. This is a good thing, why not tell everyone? Haruki opened the office door and put down the textbook. Because they won't believe the reason behind the crane. Obito said bitterly. But I believe, I can see that you are not lying. Teacher. Obito stared at him blankly, feeling the rare trust. And it's Haruki. Although the image in his heart is very devil, Haruki is one of the famous Konoha Shinobi, and what he says is more important than those who laugh at him. By the way, do you remember what I promised you? Haruki asked with a smile, leaning against the desk. Obito regained his senses, but didn't think of it for a moment. I said that you must be liked by girls, Haruki reminded. Hey, there seems to be this. Obito scratched his head. He had always thought it was to trick him into wearing women's clothing. Soon his face changed, and he hesitated to ask. Teacher, won't you let me dress again? What, are you still addicted? Haruki asked back. Impossible. Obito refused loudly. Don't be nervous, I will only say it once, and I won't let you wear it again. Haruki watched his fierce reaction, and suddenly raised his brows, and just now he noticed some kind of strange chakra. It was like Uchiha Makoto opened his eyes. His eyes narrowed slightly. Could it be that this guy opened his eyes because of this? Obito took a step back in fright. Haruki's expression always made him feel unkind. Come with me, your current image is not bad. Haruki grabbed him and disappeared into the office. Eyes twisted. Obito looked around in shock. He appeared in Konoha Street. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Boss, come and change this guy's hairstyle. Haruki pointed to Obito, who hadn't recovered yet, and said. Whether he was a child or when he grew up, his hairstyle was terribly dirty. He looked pretty good, but he wore some goggles. The character jumps off and talks about tuberculosis. Hey, which girl would like this? Hey, change your hairstyle. Obito shook his head. No. Oh, do you want to wear a nice little skirt? Haruki's voice was steady and natural. Quote. Devil, I knew you would not let me go. Obito can only nodded tearfully. Goodbye, my handsome hairstyle. And goggles, take it off. Haruki said again. Obito didn't resist this time and took off his goggles. A quarter of an hour later, Obito, who had been rebuilt, appeared in front of Haruki. Good. He nodded, considering Obito's face, and directly gave him a partial distribution type of Takeshi Kaneshiro. Without waiting for Obito to say more, Haruki took him to the clothing store again and changed him to a uniform similar to Uchiha. The appearance value immediately rose. In the original work, Haruki's two favorite outfits are Akatsuki's and Uchiha's. Wear this suit to class tomorrow. Yes. Obito changed from resistance to obedience, and he himself didn't expect that his changes would be so huge, it was almost like a different person. So, let's practice shape and attitude next. What? Obito almost thought he had heard it wrong. He felt a sense of chaos in time and space. The legendary Konoha Shinobi taught himself these things. Did something go wrong? What? Do you think that clothes alone can change your image? No matter how beautiful the clothes are, a monkey is also a monkey. Haruki glared at him and said. Of course, except for the Monkey King. Quote. Obito always feels offended. Haruki took him back to his home, took out an oversized mirror and stood in the living room. Smile. Quote. Laugh when you ask you to laugh. Quote. Obito suddenly gave an ugly smile. Be happy, think about the girl you like. Haruki said in a slow tone. Obito scratched his head and smiled again. It's so stupid. Haruki shook his head and said, do you know what a handsome guy's smile should look like? Sunshine, but it's just right. It shouldn't be too much for others. It should be handsome while still being mature and calm. Obito felt like he was dreaming at this moment. Is the person in front of him really Haruki? What is he saying? Why don't you understand? Am I a ninja? Why should I learn this kind of thing? Obito fell into suspicion. What do you think? Start over. Haruki didn't know where he took out a pointer, knocked on the mirror, and said solemnly. Obito can only smile. Again and again. Today he became a smiling boy. Until his facial muscles stiffened and thought it was over, Haruki gave him a treatment ninjutsu. Devil. This guy is the devil. Obito roared frantically in his heart, but his physical excitement couldn't be controlled. He was full of energy and started practicing again. The shadow gradually enveloped him. Night falls. Haruki turned on the light and said, let's eat first. Obito finally came alive again. After eating, continue. Quote. Obito's smile disappeared suddenly. Who is this guy? At this moment, Tsunade opened the door and came in, and saw the mirror again. What are you doing? Are you stinking? I'm teaching this guy how to chase girls. Haruki put away the mirror and said. Tsunade heard the word girl and his eyes gradually became dangerous. Chasing girls. That's right. Haruki walked to her and hugged her with his arms wide open. Thank you for your hard work today. Seeing this scene, Obito's eyes widened immediately. One word, one action, resolved the crisis. Master. He met a real master. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 70 Education and the Three-Character Classic. Uchiha Obito dragged his exhausted body and left Haruki's room. Although the dinner was unexpectedly delicious, he did not have a good appetite after being tortured for a day. Outside the door, Haruki and Tsunade shrouded in light at night are like a pair of exquisite and perfect women, with unreality like an oil painting. Obito responded to the two wavers in a daze, then turned around a moment later. If Rin Nohara is out of gentle care, Haruki is completely different, like a devil who tempts the depravity, which is quite nasty, but the attention revealed in every move is particularly surprising to him. He returned home. Grandma has rested. He fell asleep with a sense of unreality. Woke up at a certain time in the morning, after eating breakfast with his grandma's surprised eyes, he ran to the intersection that he must reach every day. It's early Grandma Huizi. Uchiha Obito took her handbag skillfully and supported her. Are you, Obito? Huizi looked at him incredulously. If her voice hadn't changed, she would almost think she had admitted the wrong person. Yes. Obito was about to show his full laugh, but thinking of Haruki's training, he immediately calmed his emotions, and the corners of his mouth curled appropriately. Obito is in love, right? Hayako said with a smile, perhaps thinking of herself when she was young, and began to pull him to talk about love skills. Obito didn't have the slightest impatience, chatting with her. It took nearly half an hour to cross the road. After seeing all this in the distance, Haruki slowly disappeared. Hello, teacher. After Haruki entered the classroom, the students greeted him one after another. This is also the effect of yesterday's course. Respect others and maintain a certain degree of courtesy, reflecting one's own self-cultivation. Good morning. Haruki waved his hand as a reply. Today's course is a cultural course in a theory course. That's right, the ninja school has corresponding cultural classes, similar to Chinese and mathematics, as well as identifying plants, stars and universes, and flower arranging. But he is already preparing to revise these theoretical courses. For example, changing to subjects of compulsory education for 9 years in his previous life. Since Konoha's high-level interests are not involved, he is sure to get Sarutobi Hiruzen to agree to his plan. After all, it does not seem to be a very purposeful politics. But education is the foundation of everything. Haruki's thinking has also undergone changes. He does not plan to teach dragon slaying skills directly in school, but to play the real role of education. Be virtuous and wise. Awaken wisdom, cultivate thinking and correct three views. And among these outstanding performances, he will make special investigations, and finally select personnel, set up that special organization, and then push it forward, like a little bit of starlight, forming a prairie fire. After all, the ninja world is not the society that has been educated and developed for so many years in the previous life. Too forward-thinking and too violent antidote are more likely to cause harm and panic. Moisturizing things silently is the best way. At this moment, a polite knock on the door sounded. Teacher. A gray-black slim-fit jacket, with suitable black partials, to match the delicate features. When Uchiha Obito entered the classroom, he received almost everyone's attention. Puzzled and confused, the low-voicing discussion sounded. Who is this? Wrong classroom. So handsome, I don't know which class it is from. Strange, why have I never heard of such a handsome guy? Uchiha Obito was a little fluttering at once, but fortunately he noticed Haruki's gaze and didn't lose his attitude. Obito, get to your seat. Haruki said casually. But the hustle and bustle in the classroom can no longer be suppressed. What? This guy is Obito. Pinch me, am I dreaming? Ah, blood loss, I don't even know. It's over, should I choose Kakashi-kun or Obito-kun in the future? Uchiha Obito remained calm, suppressing his urge to jump up and yell. When he came to the seat, a gentle smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Lin, good morning. Morning. Early. There was a trance on Nohara Lin's face. Is this really Obito who is often late with a smirk? And Kakashi also gave him a surprised look. Kakashi, how is it? Obito couldn't help asking when he noticed the look in his eyes. Not very good. Kakashi turned his head away and stopped looking at him. Obito almost broke the gong, but fortunately Haruki's teaching was deep enough. He said, this is jealous. Will I be jealous of a guy who wears women's clothing? Kakashi said lightly. Gon, can you stop mentioning this matter? Obito took a few breaths and resisted the thought of moving the guy. Yi Yuan Lin on the side covered her mouth and chuckled lightly. Obito saw her smile, scratching his head and smirking subconsciously. Haruki on the podium couldn't help shaking his head. After pretending for so long, the truth was revealed at the last second. So, it is very difficult to pretend to be in front of the people you like. Except for some Poseidon green teas, most teenagers and girls may not be much different from Obito. But Rin Nohara hasn't liked you yet. You have to pretend. Fortunately, Rin Nohara is almost the same to Kakashi. After all, he was only about 4 years old, and he was currently in the stage of looking at faces, and he didn't really like it too deeply. But now Obito barely makes up for his shortcomings in appearance, and the rest depends on his sincerity and some small skills. Quiet. Haruki knocked on the blackboard. Now we will start the class. Today the teacher will teach you a text and ask you to recite the whole text. I will do a random check in the next class. Those who fail to complete it will be at your own risk. The noise in the classroom disappeared suddenly. At this age, they are still quite afraid of teachers. What's more, it's a sunny tree. This also means that their background will not be useful at all. No matter how big it is, can it be bigger than Hokage? Normal teachers may turn one eye on their last name, but Haruki will not. At the beginning of a person, nature is good. The nature is similar, but the habit is far away. If you don't teach, your nature is changing. The sound of reading aloud in the classroom. With a flick of Haruki's finger, the chalk head jumped over the students in the front row and landed on the forehead of the boy in the second to last row of corners. Pommel horse Kongyan, illusion is not used to deceive the teacher. He looked at the saddle horse Kongyan covering his forehead and shook his head. The Pommel horse clan is an ancient ninja family in Konoha village. They have a rare illusion-type blood succession boundary, can control the five senses, and cause real damage to those who fall into the illusion. They once shared the Uchiha clan. However, the extremely difficult appearance of the blood succession boundary led to the defeat of the Pommel horse clan. Up to now, it is a small family in Konoha village. However, after more than 10 years, there will be another owner of the blood succession boundary, Kurama Yakumo. If Haruki remembers correctly, the guy in front of him who tried to use illusion to cause him to study seriously, but was actually dozing off is Kurama Yakumo's father. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 71 I Just Want to Win You. Goodbye, teacher. Be careful on the road. After Haruki watched the last student leave the classroom, he picked up the textbook. You teacher is very popular. Tsunade leaned against the door, folded his hands on his chest, and said with a smile. Of course. Haruki walked in front of her. Since I can please you as a big friend, I can naturally also make these children like it. Oh, so you are not just a big friend of mine. Tisk, tonight's dishes don't seem to need any more vinegar. Haruki stretched out a hand, wiped the corner of her mouth, and moved to her nose, a smell of vinegar. You are jealous. Tsunade curled his lips in dissatisfaction. You said it. Haruki pressed her right hand against the wall, lowered her head, and stirred in her mouth. Well, Tsunade subconsciously wrapped both hands around his neck, his head was frozen and unable to move, and he didn't want to move. A few minutes later, Haruki said, this vinegar tastes good. You still said. Tsunade panted, blushing, but glared at him, asshole. You wait for me. What are you waiting for? Haruki shrugged, if you feel at a loss, if you come back, I won't resist. Quote. Tsunade pinched directly to his waist. Hi, Haruki hurriedly said in surprise, you are really cruel. Go home. Tsunade snorted coldly, let go, turned and walked out. Hey, I think there is a problem with my waist. You have to take full responsibility. Haruki followed her footsteps and went to hold her hand, but was avoided. Then, do you want me to massage you? Tsunade's eyes showed a dangerous breath. No need. Haruki shook her head vigorously, and after many twists and turns, she finally held her with her right hand. Don't make trouble. Tsunade, who was straining her face, suddenly felt itchy palms, and immediately glared at him, but the unconcealed smile at the corner of her mouth betrayed her. Hey. Haruki smiled happily and put away the middle finger that was in her palm. Stupid. Tsunade couldn't help laughing, and holding his other hand, his face naturally leaned against his arm. After a while, Haruki patted her hand and Tsunade let go. He stepped forward, opened the door, bent slightly, and folded his right hand. Please, my princess. Tsunade tapped his forehead lightly, expressing affirmation. She bent down, took off her shoes, and a pair of beautiful white barefoot was immediately exposed to the air. Haruki looked at her graceful figure and couldn't help but smile. He closed the door and asked, what do you want to eat tonight? Tsunade was lying on the sofa, not wanting to move. Is there a dinner suitable for summer? I think about it. Haruki sat down next to her, put her feet on her lap, and gently squeezed it. Vegetable and fruit salad. It's nutritious and refreshing, and it's very simple to make. Just eat this. Tsunade's eyes lit up, and this dinner is perfect for weight loss. Okay. Haruki massaged his bare feet. Aren't you going? A few minutes later, Tsunade couldn't help but said, I'm almost hungry. Really? I don't believe it. Let me touch it. Then the next moment, he was kicked. Haruki patted his clothes and went to the kitchen. Tsunade glanced at his feet and muttered, I really don't know what I like. A quarter of an hour passed. Haruki brought out a large bowl of salad. He handed Tsunade a spoon and said, for you to wash one less bowl, one didn't separate it. Let's eat together. Watermelon, strawberry, tomato, cucumber. Tsunade scanned the salad in front of him, recognizing the ingredients inside. What is this? Avocado. Haruki glanced at the green leaf she pointed to, and said, it has an fennel fragrance, you can taste it. No, it tastes too strong. Tsunade took a bite, showing disgust. Don't eat if you are not used to it. Haruki picked up a glass of water, Tsunade didn't take it, and drank directly. Alright. Tsunade continued to deal with the salad. By the way, let me ask you one thing, is your private money enough? What do you want to do? Tsunade immediately became alert. What's your expression? Haruki said amusedly, isn't the money you use mine? After the two confirmed their relationship, Tsunade gave all of his money to Haruki for safekeeping in order to prevent him from gambling. But it's a pity that Tsunade didn't control herself in the end, and often slipped out. With her luck, it was natural to lose to the debt collection. Haruki had no choice but to repay the money. Over time, the money never increased. As for the so-called private money, Haruki told her that if she wins, count her. Ah, not much. Tsunade stared at Salad, not daring to look at him. Are we going bankrupt? Shingshu took a sip of water and smiled. It's not enough. Huh, it smells like oranges. Quote. Tsunade was stunned, his face flushed, and said, that's lipstick, why are you drinking my water? Oh, Haruki blinked, what does it matter? Okay, for business, I want to establish a bank, which is an underground bank as you understand it. What do you mean? Tsunade thought of the infrastructure investment bank he was talking about at Sunagaku. This can only be the master in the hands of the two of us. Haruki said seriously, you may not understand its power now, but it is far more than any underground bank you have seen. It is the most important thing in the future. One of the lifeblood of the economy. I listen to you. Tsunade seemed to understand, but she believed in Haruki. You are not afraid that I will sell you. Haruki couldn't help but joked. Huh, you're not willing. Tsunade said categorically. Haruki was taken aback, then squeezed her cheek. After the bank is established, no matter how you bet, it doesn't matter. Real, fake. Haruki gave her a blank look. If you lose like this, no matter how much money you have, you will lose it all. It doesn't matter. As long as I win you, it doesn't matter what else I lose. After speaking, Tsunade got up immediately, without giving Haruki time to react. I'm full. Go take a bath first. Haruki looked at her back, who had fled, and suddenly laughed. He put away the bowl. The importance of modern banks is self-evident. For other industries, he can give to Konoha in the future and collect them as public enterprises. And this investment bank is his selfish gift to Tsunade. As he said, Tsunade wants to lose the entire bank in the future, so he has to work hard. Haruki finished washing the dishes, stretched out, and went to the study to write textbooks. Half an hour later, Tsunade, wearing a white bathrobe, walked in. You go take a bath. Good. Haruki stopped her hand and smelled a refreshing scent. He looked at the wet Tsunade, the water drops rolling down on her soft skin, making no secret of her unique temptation. Haruki couldn't help sighing. Sure enough, it was summer, and my body got hot. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 72 Man-Made Diamonds. No meow there. You are so annoying. Don't touch meow. Believe it or not, I will scratch you. As soon as Haruki arrived at the cat cafe, he heard Hina's annoyance. It was held in the arms of a cute little girl, a little frustrated. But out of professionalism, he only talked, not his claws. After swearing for a while, working hours ended, and it jumped out quickly. I'll come to see you next time. The little girl waved to it happily. Don't find me, find another cat. Hina took a step back in shock. Haruki smiled and looked around for a week. No accident, cat cafes were full. And most of them are ordinary civilians living in Konoha. Miss Hina, it's still so popular. Haruki walked in front of it, squatted down, and stretched out his hand to touch its head. Wait. Hina pressed his hand with a small meatball cat's claw. Where is the meeting ceremony? Here you are. Haruki took out a light green ball. What kind of cat is this? Hina was a little disappointed that she didn't see the golden ball she liked, and she didn't even have such enthusiasm for Haruki. Catnip. Haruki looked mysterious, more exciting than a golden ball. Really meow. Hina took the catnip, and subconsciously put it in front of her nose and sniffed it, and an indescribable sense of comfort passed through her brain and spread to her whole body. What? Something meow. Hina shook her body and immediately took the catnip away, controlling her urge to roll on the ground with great willpower. You can understand it is a kind of sugar, it doesn't have any harm. Haruki chuckled slightly. Ms. Hina is still satisfied. Count you through it. Hina thought of the feeling of heaven just now, and put the catnip away and was ready to find a place where no one would take a big breath. How's your business going? Haruki asked. You've seen it too. Except for some trifling guys, it's pretty good. It's both massaged and fed. I began to suspect that the pets are not us, but you humans. Maybe it is, Haruki quipped. This is called cuteness and justice. I really don't understand you humans. Hina licked the meatball. What are you doing today? Uchiha Obito. Haruki stepped aside, revealing Obito who was obstructed. I want you to find him a summoning beast. Be pretty and cute. I repeat once again that our ninja clan are serious business cats. Hina looked at Haruki contemptuously. No, you misunderstood. A cold sweat appeared on Haruki's forehead. He is not a pervert, and it is impossible to do anything to the cat. I hope so. Hina beckoned, Haruki leaned over and said, "Bring me more catnip next time." "No problem. The deal is done. The kid will go with me to see Granny Cat." Hina got up and walked gracefully into the house. "Go," Haruki said. After Obito left, he also left Maugia. Haruki looked at the endless stream of people, thinking that it might be time to expand. He brought Uchiha Obito over to contract the summoning beast, but at the same time hoped that the pet would release his emotions. Studies in previous lives have shown that pets can certainly relieve loneliness and anxiety. And what makes Obito's terrible future is nothing more than past experiences, mostly because of childhood. Countless facts prove how far-reaching the impact of childhood on a person is. Both parents died and classmates laughed at him. Later, I was misled by Uchiha Madara. Witnessing the girl I like dies in Kakashi's hands, combined with Uchiha's unique emotional stimulation and eye-opening, it's harder not to blacken. What Haruki is doing now is to avoid the birth of these fuse. Withdrawing his thoughts, he arrived at Hyuga's house. Because Hyuga Sayori is in Tsunade, the Golden Jade marriage has not really opened yet. In Haruki's expectation, he intends to hire members of the Hyuga family as the main force in making jewelry. With Byakugan, they can perform extremely complex carving work. The jewelry of ninja is too rough at present, it is a primary processed product, and what he needs to do is advanced processing, which has a higher added value. Without high-precision processing machines, let the ninja replace them and give full play to the role of productivity. Shuin. Haruki knocked on the door and entered. Haruki-sama. Hyuga, who was wearing a kimono, stood up and said gently, "I'm looking at the jewelry album that the adult gave. How do you feel?" "Very beautiful." Speaking of this, Hyuga Shuin's face was also emotional, and a woman's beauty-loving nature. "I have never seen such exquisite jewelry. If you like it, it will definitely be popular." "Definitely." Hyuga Kaoru nodded vigorously. "Tsunade will send the first batch of placer gold soon, so I will trouble you to summon people to start work. You can issue tasks to Konoha in the name of a Golden Jade marriage, which is easier to accept." Haruki suggested. The ninja code is a bit old, but it is very beneficial to him. No matter how bad things are, as long as there are tasks, everything is easy to say. Haruki often laments that the ninja is pure, not mingled with the nobility, does not care about the economy, and does not rule the common people. This saves a lot of trouble for his future career. According to future assumptions, the ninja is best to be a pure army. "I see," Hyuga Kaoru said. "Well, there's one more thing. I hope you can help me create a diamond ring and 10 diamond kunai." Haruki said, thinking of something. In the ninja world, diamonds are still as expensive as in the previous life. In the original book, Tenten once gave a diamond kunai when Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata got married. Okay. Hyuga Shuin nodded. She is the representative selected by the Hyuga family and the person in charge of Konoha. Haruki didn't expect that Hyuga's family would let Hyuga come out. Hyuga Hiyashi's explanation was that she didn't like fighting and she was interested in beautiful jewelry, so she let her alone. "This is for you." Haruki took out another scroll. Synthetic diamonds. Hyuga Shuin opened the scroll with curiosity, and suddenly widened Byakugan. "Well, I will let Makoto come over and help." Haruki came to this idea after learning about diamonds. Man-made diamonds look almost the same as natural diamonds, but the price is very low, and the manufacturing method is not difficult. It just requires experimentation. The high-temperature and high-pressure synthesis method is very suitable for ninjas. And Uchiha Makoto is good at fire style, let her come over and try it. By the way, as a training, it is perfect. Once this method is successful, in addition to gold jewelry, we can also have a stable income. Haruki said with a smile, "But don't worry, take your time." "Did you come up with this?" Hyuga looked at the contents of the scroll and couldn't help asking. "That's it. It's incredible." Hyuga Shuin couldn't help being surprised. She had never thought that diamonds could be made by hand, but she was certain that a major earthquake was about to happen. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 73 The Real World. Master Haruki, I am going to find you. Konoha bookstore Okikai raised his head, saw Haruki, couldn't help but say. What's matter? According to your instructions, our Konoha bookstore is expanding outside Konoha. Due to your and Sanin-sama's reputation, it is almost unimpeded. So far, it is considered to be the top 10 bookstore in the country of fire. Isn't that good? But the daimyo sent someone over to negotiate with us not long ago, thinking that we should pay taxes in accordance with the laws of the country of fire. Pay taxes. Haruki was slightly startled. Well, we used to pay taxes in Konoha in accordance with Konoha's rules. Konoha's tax collection is very arbitrary. After all, it is aided by the country of fire. In addition, we did not consider these in the initial stage of the village. Besides, now you are in charge of the economy. Secretary Hokage, naturally no one dares to say anything. But the country of fire. Oki couldn't help shaking his head. Not only does he collect a lot of taxes, but the types are extremely complicated. Once we go, our income will have to be halved at least. Haruki also frowned. It really is the ancient neon of the feudal era. If he remembers correctly, the farmers are even more miserable. For a simple example, if you produce 100 shi every year, you have to pay 60 shi. Except for the nobles and warriors, almost everyone can't eat white rice. There are also corvée and various additional taxes. Don't bother him, Haruki said. Is this not so good? Oki Kai asked hesitantly. They just watched our Konoha bookstore make too much money and couldn't help but jealous. Haruki snorted, but then he thought of something and asked, does the daimyo have the so-called guardian ninja 12 shi? Yes. Damuji nodded first, then asked in a low voice, does your lord want to kill the daimyo? What are you thinking? Haruki couldn't help laughing. You with thick eyebrows and big eyes also have such a big rebellious idea. Hee. Doing things with adults is naturally bolder. Oki Kai scratched his head and said. Since he can be appointed to be in charge of Konoha bookstore, he naturally received special education and knew Haruki's goals. It's not that time. Haruki shook his head and said, you tell him that I will take the time to visit the daimyo to discuss this matter. Okay. Damuji was a little disappointed, but didn't say anything. Okay. Let's talk about business. Haruki took out a book from the storage scroll and handed it to Ogi Kai. This is the comic to be published next. Comic. Oki turned a few pages. Slam dunk. What is basketball? A new type of confrontational entertainment. Haruki was a system reward obtained by dreaming of playing with Tsunade some time ago, and he intends to promote basketball as an entertainment method. Konoha's entertainment is too scarce. Jiraiya, a big player, does nothing more than novels, hot springs, young ladies, and drinking. The so-called culture and sports are not branch houses. In the future, Konoha bookstore will also sell basketballs and make basketball hoops and basketball courts. Haruki said, you should study the comics, get the rules familiar, and train a few referees. We will take the lead in a basketball game at the ninja school. At that time, we will invite the parents of all the students and Hokage adults, and the fame will be achieved in one step. Okay. After several operations by public opinion, Okiji also understood a lot. Hokage took the lead. From the promotion of children, with the comics and the Konoha Daily, he is sure to make basketball rise in Konoha. Once successful, as the only supplier, money is inevitable. After leaving Konoha bookstore, Haruki came to the research building of the ninja school. He hadn't seen Orochimaru for a long time, but considering that guy's character, he didn't go to him. Haruki came to the fireworks research group under the science group. Fireworks, or gunpowder, is simply an indispensable weapon for crossing. But unfortunately, he couldn't accomplish this achievement of the Traverser. Because there are fireworks in Hokage Ninja. In the original work, there have been summer festivals and fireworks festivals. Although there are no manufacturing steps, Haruki naturally knows the power of gunpowder. It's not as good as the guys who open the door, but it is not a problem to deal with Genin and Chunin. Even if you are not careful, Jonin will suffer. After all, the ninja's physical fitness is not good enough to be invulnerable. Since Kuwu's shuriken can hurt people, gunpowder can naturally. My lord, times have changed. But it is a long way to go to transform fireworks into high destructive firearms. One of the important reasons is that he has no relevant knowledge. After all, high school does not teach how to make firearms. In comparison, he thinks that the chakra gun will be successfully researched faster. Master Haruki, are you here today to see the progress of gunpowder research? The person in charge of this project is called Minato Yoshio. He was originally Konoha's fireworks dealer, but he was recruited by Haruki and turned into an arms dealer. But because the price is right, he is very hardworking. No. Haruki took out another scroll, temporarily put aside the research and go back to the old line. Fireworks. Minato Yoshio glanced at the contents of the scroll, and couldn't help but show a strange look. It's all love, which girl do you want to chase? Don't worry, I won't tell Master Tsunade. Don't talk nonsense. Haruki patted him on the shoulder. It's not easy to want fireworks to appear in text patterns. Guaranteed to complete the task. Minato Liangshong raised his right hand in salute. I told you not to use this etiquette for now. Can't hold back. Manuo Liangshong smiled embarrassedly. It's done before August 2nd, otherwise, the consequences will not be wonderful. After leaving a warning, Haruki left the research institute. Class A for the first grade. After Haruki entered the door, he saw Uchiha Obito. There is a cute white cat beside him, which looks a bit like a puppet cat from a previous life. At this moment, Obito smiled and watched Lin Nohara petting the kitten. In a sense, pets also help to fall in love. You have saliva at the corner of your mouth. Huh, Obito wiped his mouth subconsciously. Where is it? Your teacher. Nohara Lin immediately raised her head to say hello. Where is Kakashi? Haruki rarely saw Kakashi not with the two of them. It looks like he was called away by his dad. Obito didn't hesitate to sell his good friend. He sometimes skipped class as a clone. If you are in the top 3 in each subject, you can also use your avatar to skip class. Haruki raised an eyebrow and said, I can even take you to practice after class. Extracurricular practice. Obito's eyes lit up. What extracurricular practice? Take you to play. Haruki said with a smile. Want to go? Yes. Obito nodded immediately. The class was really boring, but it was difficult to get to the top 3. Lin can do too, Xing Shu added. I will definitely do it, Obito said proudly as if he had been beaten up. Come on, I'll take you to the beach during summer vacation. Haruki winked at Obito, especially the word, beach, intensified. Beach, summer, swimwear. Obito suddenly revealed his original shape, like a little wolf pup who screamed. Haruki did not explain either. The extracurricular practice is not as good as he imagined. He intends to let these students go to the land of fire for field trips during the summer vacation. Perhaps it can be expressed in another sentence. Welcome to the real world. Only by going deep into the front line and being close to the masses, can we truly understand the true face of this world. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 74 Coach, I want to play basketball. Haruki can understand Uchiha Obito's excitement. Just like him in his previous life, as a southerner, he reacted when he saw the snow. Immediately came a set of operations, took photos and posted them to Moments or Space, and attached a sentence that hurts the spring and sad autumn, a proper literary teenager. Most of the fire country is inland, only the southeast borders the sea. But the other side of the sea is the enemy. Water country and Kurigakure. Unless it is necessary, Konoha's ninjas can hardly see the sea, not to mention children like Obito, even Konoha hasn't left. Time flies. A week later, Konoha Daily was released. With Okichi's efforts, reading newspapers has become one of the habits of Konoha residents. You don't need to spend too much money to understand what happened in Konoha village. Plus there are free novel serializations. But to their surprise, Sword Art Online announced that it will no longer be serialized and will be published as a separate book in the future. In other words, if you want to read a novel, you have to pay for it. Suddenly, many people scolded this unscrupulous author with a weird name. I am not a tree person. Close black lens bracket. The only good news is that his new work, Slam Dunk, will replace it. But when they opened the newspaper, they found that it was not a novel, but a comic. The novel serialization method that has never appeared before immediately excites them. Compared with words, comics have a stronger impact. Damn it, why didn't this guy think of painting, Sword Art Online? What's so good about a group of men fighting hand to hand? I can smell sweat through the newspaper. Yes, if a group of Asunas play, hee hee. HMPH, if this old thief can't write Asuna's illustrations alone, I must send him the blade. But the curse is cursed, since I bought the newspaper, it feels a pity not to read it. As they entered the state, they suddenly discovered that this comic was damn sweet. Fragrant. It smells so good. The blood of a teenager. Make them emotional. According to incomplete statistics, the number of tasks completed by the Konoha Mission Center has surged by 30% in the past few days. The civilians also appeared in a similar situation. The shaking of the bed at night prolonged a lot of time. I can still hear, so fierce. Such anger. The ultimate beneficiary is naturally Oki-kai. He smiled and watched the Konoha Daily sold out, and decided to hurry up and get the basketball court out. Good morning everyone. Haruki entered the classroom with a stack of books. Asuma, come and post these books. Sarutobi Asuma immediately got up. He is now the monitor of this class. Regardless of him, he is very stable when he is an adult, and he is a good son and husband. But now he is a bit similar to Konohamaru, rebellious, and wants to make trouble and get rid of his father's influence. He ran to the daimyo of the country of fire to serve as the guardian of Shinobu for this reason. Otherwise, as the son of Hokage, there is no need to do such an errand. Although there is the possibility of gilding. Read, here. Sarutobi Asuma gave his childhood sweetheart Yurihong a manga with high priority. This scene caught Haruki's eyes, and he couldn't help but smile. No wonder he was able to win the heart of Yurihong. It's not just my Hokage father. The squad leader was specially assigned to him by Haruki. For a rebellious guy like Asuma, he still has a bit of experience to deal with. Satisfy his vanity. Because I want to surpass his father Sarutobi Hiruzen, I want to do my best everywhere. As for a class, at least it looks like the monitor is the largest. This Chinese class is to read this cartoon. After everyone got the manga, Haruki said. After he applied to Sarutobi Hiruzen, he officially changed the name of the theory class of the ninja school. Divided into language, mathematics, geography, biology, politics and history. Of course, the content must be different from the previous life. But the familiar name made Haruki feel very kind. After he finished speaking, there was a sound of flipping books in the classroom, and no one questioned it. The reason is simple. In just 2 weeks, Haruki established sufficient majesty. In other classes, they just ask for leave, skip class, and don't do homework. But Haruki is different. Asked for leave, sick leave. Don't be afraid, as long as he is not dead, he can be saved. Skip class and don't do homework. Those who catch it go to the artificial pond outside the teaching building to practice chakra treading water. It sounds simple, but as soon as get out of class is over, all the teachers and students in the school will look at you with their faces on the railings. Real social death. If you encounter someone who hasn't changed after repeated instruction, you can only use the ultimate trick, please parents. But not for parents to educate, but for parents to accompany their children to tread water. The end result is very good. Never dared to commit a crime again. And he also won the title Konoha Unrelenting Tiger, among the students. Haruki knew this name, but no one dared to call it face to face. He was observing the reactions of everyone. At first, many people looked impatient, as if he had taken an extracurricular reading class in his previous life. But at that time he was reading world-famous books, such as Gone with the Wind, and A Dream of Red Mansions. It's not that these masterpieces are bad, but it's really hard to read them when they are too young. In comparison, Obito and them are happier. After all, Slam Dunk is a comic book and a favorite reading material for teenagers. About half an hour later, the little guys who watched quickly changed their expressions. Especially after reaching the plot of, "Coach, I want to play basketball," he clearly saw tears in some people's eyes. The emotional ones are even more teary. Such as Obito. Haruki twitched at the corner of his mouth. This guy is too exaggerated, right? The nose and tears flowed together. If it weren't for the classroom, I'm afraid I would cry. Haruki probably understands why Uchiha Madara liked him in the first place. It was obviously the tale of the crane, and it was not until the Third Ninja World War. But he does have a personality similar to Uzumaki Naruto now. I am full of love for Konoha, so I fell into darkness after Nohara Lin died. Haruki was suddenly worried. I don't know if Obito in this life with unique red thoughts can resist the temptation of Uchiha Madara. But he soon felt unreasonably worried. A true revolutionary will not be deceived in any way. He is not afraid of being blocked by 10,000 people, he will only move forward bravely. Just like that great man and pioneer. Today's homework is very simple. Go back and invite your parents to participate in the basketball competition in a week. Haruki picked up the chalk and wrote the words A and B on the left and right sides of the blackboard. Presumably you also understand the rules in the comics. There are 30 people in our class, which happens to be divided into 2 teams to fight. I suggest that Team A be captained by Asuma, and Team B should be captained by the best Kakashi teammate. After he finished speaking, Kakashi nodded coldly. And Sarutobi Asuma ignited the blood. In this class, he hates Kakashi the most, because this guy has completely robbed him of the limelight. Now that the opportunity is here, he must make him lose all his teeth. But his only concern is that his Hokage father will not come. But when he told Haruki, he got away, so he ran home with joy. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 75 Strawberry Cream Cake. Sarutobi Hiruzen ended the day of hard work, put away the crystal ball, the red of excitement on his face gradually faded. He returned home. His wife Sarutobi Lake Biwa is already waiting for him. Dad, Sarutobi Asuma called him enthusiastically. You seem a little different today. Sarutobi Hiruzen is keenly aware of the tension he hides, and this attitude is very strange. If he changes to the usual cold face, he will pretend to be an adult. No, Asuma shook his head quickly. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes, but didn't ask any more. After the meal, he came to the study. For a moment, a knock on the door sounded. Please come in. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head, he already sensed that the person standing outside the door was Asuma. As the door was opened, Asuma carried a basin of water. Dad, wash your feet. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt incredible. Is this really his own son? He understands his rebellious character, it is impossible to be so well behaved. What happened to you today? Asuma did not answer, put down the footbath, and stretched out a small hand to take off Sarutobi Hiruzen's shoes. Only the smell is heavier. But thinking of what Haruki-sensei said, he held back and plunged Sarutobi Hiruzen's feet into the hot water. Asuma breathed a sigh of relief, his weather-beaten instep was full of wrinkles and was very uncomfortable. Suddenly, he had a hint of understanding. Ms. Haruki made me do this. Haruki. Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned, but when he saw his serious look, he couldn't help but feel a little bit emotional. As Hokage, he did a lot of things invisible to people, but in the face of his son's growth, he still returned to his father's identity. Well, the teacher told you to go to the basketball game in a week. I'm afraid that if you don't go, the teacher will let me wash your feet with you. I'm interested. Sarutobi Hiruzen stroked Asuma's head, enjoying the rare family happiness. At the same time, I am more satisfied with Haruki. He somewhat regretted that Haruki was not his apprentice. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, Haruki can now almost stand shoulder to shoulder with Tsunade. Is one of Konoha's most trusted guardians. What is the basketball game? Don't you know? Asuma wiped the water from his hands, took out, slam dunk, and handed it to Sarutobi Hiruzen. As Haruki again, seeing the familiar name, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but smile. This guy can always come up with new tricks. He didn't talk nonsense, flipping through it very fast. After a while, I have understood the rules of basketball. This exercise is not bad, it can not only exercise individual abilities, but also deepen teamwork. Sarutobi Hiruzen has a thoughtful look. As Hokage, he naturally thinks more. There are group classes in the ninja school, just to increase the cooperation between the ninjas. But the course is monotonous, it is a battle drill between the teams. The basketball game is obviously more interesting and difficult. According to the rules of basketball, it means that the participants must precisely control chakra. For Genin, the open and close battle is obviously inappropriate. Right. Hearing what he said, Asuma immediately became happy, and said quite proudly, Dad, let me tell you, I was appointed by Mr. Haruki to be the captain of the basketball team. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. Haruki is really my son. Sensible. Then I definitely can't miss it. Just be optimistic, I will definitely kill the quartet. Asuma squeezed her small fist and promised. At the same time, Haruki was also talking about basketball with Tsunade. Are you interested in playing basketball? Tsunade was immediately alert. What are you asking this for? Quote. Haruki felt a little inexplicable, but still said, if you are interested, I can accompany you to play. Not interested. Tsunade took a step back and shook his head. Haruki nodded. He didn't think much about it. It's normal for girls not to like basketball. Only then did Tsunade realize that he had misunderstood. To ease her embarrassment, she asked, are there any interesting things today? Interesting. Haruki raised her hand and squeezed her face. Can't you see what's interesting about you? Don't make trouble. Tsunade grabbed his hand and glared at him. I'm asking you seriously. I think you seem to be very happy. Haruki shrugged. He obviously likes listening to me nonsense. Would you like to say a few more words? Tsunade smiled sweetly and put his fist in front of Haruki. Danger. A big word, dangerous, appeared on his head. Haruki rolled his eyes and asked, are you hungry? Don't transfer. What are you doing? Tsunade suddenly exclaimed. Just now, Haruki opened her clothes, reached in from underneath, and stuck it on her belly. She felt a chill. But then, it was shame. Why don't you tell me, I will help you to see if your stomach is flattened. Haruki's expression was serious, but the movements of his hands kept on, savoring the delicate touch. Sunny. Tree. Tsunade said angrily. Don't be so loud, I can hear it. Haruki drew his hand in time and held up her face again, tenderly and intricately, as if holding the most precious treasure. Tsunade touched his affectionate eyes and couldn't help being taken aback. Haruki gave her a bite. Water stains reflect light on the lips. He sniffed the scent of his fingertips and said, eat strawberry cream cake tonight. Immediately, body flicker technique ran away. The Tsunade, who did not react, was left in place. This guy, she touched her face, it was scary hot. Obviously he is a vigorous and resolute person, but he was eaten to death by him. But it's not annoying either. This feeling of pity and prudence made her addicted. Tsunade covered her face and made a cute voice. At this moment, she was a girl who fell in love. Haruki opened the refrigerator. Strawberry cream cake is not difficult to make. The cake is ready-made, he smeared cream, and then decorated with strawberries, to complete today's dinner. He thought for a while and added a line. Tsunade. Haruki came out carrying the cake. Come on. Tsunade answered and rubbed his cheeks, trying to restore calmness. When he arrived at the table, he saw the 2 words on the cake. Love words. She couldn't help but laughed. Hey, this is the most shameless and shameless love story I have ever seen. Strawberries are red, cream is white, cakes are sweet, and so are you. Haruki fork-fed a strawberry and asked with a smile, do you want me to feed you? I'm not a kid. Tsunade recovered, glared at him, grabbed the knife and fork, and bit the strawberry. Quote. Haruki curled his lips, knowing what is meant by sentiment. In the next moment, Tsunade's small mouth leaned forward, and he felt a strawberry in his mouth. Tsunade straightened up, licked the corner of his mouth, and asked, is it sweet? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 76. The future is yours. It was the first time I ate strawberries mouth to mouth with my girlfriend Tsunade, and was rewarded with the first 30 volumes of One Piece comics. Close black lens bracket. One Piece. What does this have to do with One Piece? And why doesn't your system reward the entire book? Hasn't this guy Oda drawn to the end yet? Too good. Haruki entered the ninja school with a strong complaint, and saw Okikai. He is directing a group of people to transform the square. Many students watched the excitement around them. But soon realized that after they built the basketball court, they seemed a bit noisy. Recently, Slam Dunk is quite popular among this group of children, but because there is no venue and no specially made basketball, it is not full of fun to play. Haruki specially asked Okikai to choose hard materials for ball frames and basketballs, requiring at least the impact of A-level ninjutsu. Although the cost is relatively high, after all, this is the world of ninjas. They are not playing brother basketball, but super ability basketball. Hello teacher. Hello principal. As the students noticed Haruki, 2 different titles rang. The teacher who called the teacher was his student, and the one who called the principal was naturally the students of other classes. Because of his various reforms in the school, Haruki was remembered by almost all students. Although not the same as good. Haruki greeted. Principal, are we going to hold a basketball game? A Byakugan boy asked excitedly. Yes. Haruki nodded and said, 7 days later, there will be a basketball game in Class A of the first grade. Everyone will be familiar with the rules and style of play, and there will be an entire school game soon. Okay. Cheers were heard in the square. This is the trend brought about by the hit works. Not everyone likes basketball, but once a trend is formed, the herd mentality will work. Even if you don't like it, you will unconsciously pay attention to it, so as to avoid chatting with friends and having no topics. Just like yo-yos and four-wheel drive cars in previous lives, they were too hot for a while. Almost everyone has a yo-yo and racing car. The same goes for basketball today. Master Haruki, you can finish it in about 2 hours. Oki-kai naturally saw the riot caused by Haruki, and he walked over to report the progress and said, well, the heat has been pretty good these days, I should make a lot of money by doing more basketball while it's hot. As Haruki said, he observed the half-built basketball court. A very standard rectangular site. It is 28 meters long and 15 meters wide. But because there is no plastic, the chakra-reinforced ground is used. For this purpose, a jonin who knows earth style is specially found. The sideline, end line, center line, free throw line, etc. are divided into several major areas. Shooting area, restricted area, penalty area, team area. Compared with my own memory, the difference is basically the same. Afternoon. Haruki brought 2 teams, Sarutobi Asuma and Hitaki Kakashi, to the basketball court. Yes, very energetic. Haruki couldn't help but smile when he felt the tense atmosphere at the scene. Even Kakashi, who has always been indifferent, is very serious at this time. No matter how you don't care, but when it comes to honor and face, no one is willing to give in. In the future, your group class will be changed to a physical education class. The content of the class will be a variety of basketball-like sports. Of course, there is only one item of basketball at present, but it will gradually increase in the future. Haruki clapped his hands, attracting the attention of the 2 teams. You also basically understand the rules of basketball, but I still want to emphasize a few points. First, you must not be arrogant, and you must listen to the captain's command. Second, you must not use mass destruction ninjutsu and physique, only auxiliary ninjutsu and physique. Third, allow physical collisions, but not fights. Basketball is your goal. Understand? Clear. Please leave the starting personnel of both sides and leave the substitute. A few seconds later, Haruki looked at the players on the court. Almost familiar faces. Team A, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuri Hong, Mizuki, Yamashiro Aoba, Shiranui Genma. Team B, Hitaki Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Nohara Lin, Morino Ibiki, Kurama Kamyan. Start. Haruki threw a basketball into the air, then stepped back. Kakashi directly used the body flicker technique, caught up with the basketball and won the jump ball. Asuma was a little angry. It's not that he doesn't know the body flicker technique, but he does not have the fast speed of Kakashi. Haruki watched the game with relish from the sidelines. Compared to slam dunk, the name, Hazy's basketball, may be more suitable. All the staff are bells and whistles. It's not a serious basketball game at all. After 4 quarters of the game, Kakashi's team narrowly won by 9 points. Generally speaking, their strengths are similar. Although Kakashi is a genius, he has too many restrictions in basketball to play his true strength. Asuma, keep working hard, it's just a little bit. Haruki patted him on the shoulder and said encouragingly. On the other side, Kakashi was hugged by Obito and others, all kinds of sense enveloping him, looking unlovable. In this game, Kakashi scored the highest score, which is the key to their victory. I understand, teacher. Asuma clenched her small fist and nodded unconvinced. If you want to win against Kakashi, you have to understand the power of the team. Didn't you find that it is because you want to score goals, but it affects the performance of your teammates? Asuma heard the words and was taken aback. He really wants to surpass Kakashi, so he tried his best in the game. But the more so, the more mistakes that should have been made. He seemed to be a lone ranger. Even the god of basketball needs his partner. Haruki looked at Asuma thoughtfully. The tragedy of this guy may be that the identity of Hokage's son caused him to fail to see his talents clearly. I see, teacher. Asuma said the same thing again, but this time he was less unconvinced, thinking and planning more. Kakashi, let's go, the teacher will take you to eat barbecue. Haruki waved to Kakashi's team. Kakashi suddenly showed saved eyes, and broke free of his teammates surrounding him. A group of people, led by Haruki, came to the barbecue restaurant. Obito, pay attention to your image, you've been back to the original shape these days. Haruki looked at Obito, who was so happy from ear to ear, and couldn't help but remind. Obito immediately converged, turning into a faint smile. After the meal, Obito followed Haruki because he was on the same road. Teacher, I have a question, I have always wanted to ask you. Obito hesitated for a long time, and finally couldn't help but speak. What is the problem? Why are you so good to me? I treat every student very well. Haruki smiled and said. But you are different to me. Obito said in a positive tone, and he could feel Haruki's attitude no matter how stupid he was. It's actually very simple. Haruki stopped and looked at him, because the future is yours. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 77. When Haruki, known as one of the two Konoha Bibi, said to himself the phrase, "The future is yours," Uchiha Obito's first reaction was hallucinations in his ears. He is just the tail of a crane, a mediocre of the Uchiha clan, how can he? But Haruki was very serious and couldn't see any trace of joking. Teacher, Obito opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. There was a burst of emotion in my heart. He seemed to be ignited, and his blood was boiling. Do you believe me? Haruki patted him on the shoulder. My eyes are always good. Obito didn't have any confidence at this moment. If it's Kakashi who said this to him, he would definitely reply without hesitation, I know, how about you? Single quote. But it was Haruki who spoke. After this period of time, Haruki's status in his heart is almost second only to his grandmother. Can I really? After hesitating for a moment, Obito asked without confidence. Do you know Makoto? Haruki asked without answering him directly. How was it before Makoto became my apprentice? Yes. Obito was stunned. He had no impression at all. I told you that I have a good vision. Haruki deliberately smiled extremely confidently. Makoto opened her eyes directly, but before, none of you saw her talent. Obito shook his body suddenly. Could it be that he is really a genius? Obito, make a bet with the teacher. Haruki raised his head and said. His back was reflected in Obito's eyes, and under the sun, he seemed to see through the destiny of the fairy. One day in the future, your eyes will definitely change the world of Shinobi. Plain and sure. Obito squeezed his hand tightly. At this moment, he seemed to have infinite power pouring out of his body. Haruki's image suddenly grew taller. Obito thought that even if it was fake, he had to work hard to live up to Haruki's trust in him. Because he had a desire that no one believed, to become Hokage to end the war. This kunai is made of diamonds, and it is invaluable. Haruki took out a handful of crystal clear karma and stuffed it in his hand. I gave it to you because I bet it in the future. Obito stared blankly at Diamond Kuna. The golden light sprinkled on its surface, shining brightly, just like what Haruki said, exuding an unignorable charm. Teacher, I will definitely do it. Obito swears loudly, with pride in his heart, as if his whole person has been sublimated. Haruki raised his eyebrows. The effect of this chicken soup was a bit good. No wonder the most powerful thing among Hokage ninjas is mouth escape. Do you want to know why you can't catch up with Kakashi? Haruki asked again. He knew that chicken soup could not be useful forever, and actions could deepen the effect. I am not as talented as him. Obito blurted out. Talent. Haruki shook his head. In my opinion, your talent is higher than him. If you want to know the answer, come to my house to find me after 7 tonight. Hey, Obito looked at him confused. Why did he say it at night? You'll know then. Haruki didn't explain any more. Go home and see you at 7. Okay. Goodbye, teacher. Obito cherished the diamond kunai. He was afraid that he would never use this kunai in his life, and he would never forget that on this day someone told him that he could change the world of ninja in the future. Haruki smiled and saw him leave. He remembered an experiment in his previous life. A child who praised him for his genius and cleverness would grow far greater than usual. So the influence of parents, teachers and classmates is extremely important. Haruki returned home. Tsunade sat cross-legged on the sofa, staring at him with a fierce expression. Quote? Haruki blinked. Hungry. For an instant, Tsunade pressed his belly and became pitiful. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Isn't there something to eat in the refrigerator? Haruki couldn't laugh or cry. He approached Tsunade and touched her forehead. How did you become stupid? Because I want to eat with you. Tsunade curled his lips and didn't say anything. She snorted dissatisfiedly. I forgot, and I don't want to eat cold. Haruki squeezed her face. I always think she is a little weird today. She looks like a girl who wants to act like a baby, but she may not behave because of her face. What to eat? Have you eaten outside? Tsunade asked rhetorically. Well, I had a barbecue with the students. Then I will eat noodles. Keep it simple. Tsunade's tone softened. She didn't care what she was eating, only who she was eating with. Okay, you wait. Haruki ran to the kitchen, and 15 minutes later, he brought out a bowl of beef noodles. Tsunade picked up the chopsticks, took a few bites, and said, don't stare at me. There is a word in our hometown called shoseikeiken, which means that beautiful beauties are like delicacies, making people forget about hunger. Aren't you full? Tsunade glanced at him. Yes, there are grievances. Haruki shook his head and said, I haven't eaten enough. Tsunade looked at him suspiciously. Don't lie in front of me. How dare I? Haruki got up across from her and ran to her and sat down. I think I'm hungry again. Would you like me to eat? Tsunade protects the noodle bowl. This is mine, go down by yourself. It's ruthless, it's ruthless. Haruki leaned forward with a smile, sniffed her white and translucent face, and said softly, I want to eat you a little bit. Tsunade froze in place. You see, you are so nervous. Haruki shrugged. I can't really eat you. Tsunade recovered and hit his forehead with a fist. Idiot. Why? Beating and scolding, you are too cruel. Haruki clutched his forehead, looking at her with a vague expression of resentment. Who told you to tease me? Tsunade dealt with the noodles in shame, and in a short while, he ate completely, and then ran to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Haruki scratched his head. He got up and followed to the kitchen. I'm going out later. What are you going to do? Didn't you say that the class at Orochimaru is over? It's Obito. What do you want to do at night? Tsunade stopped his hand and asked with a calm face, aren't you going to take something you shouldn't go? Do you think I am Jiraiya? Haruki said angrily. Okay. I don't believe my boyfriend anymore, right? Quote. Tsunade was stunned, and she was a little bit awkward when interrupted like this. Am I not asking? Why did it become mine? In the next moment, there was a bang in the air. Tsunade felt his face stamped. Punishment for you. Haruki pursed her lips, then blew a whistle triumphantly. Beauty, I'm leaving now, obediently, waiting for me to come back in vain. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 78 Birthday Present. Teacher. Uchiha Obito saw Haruki coming out and hurriedly stepped forward to say hello. Follow me. Haruki reached out and grabbed his shoulders, body flicker technique started, and the two disappeared into the street. Here it is. Obito raised his head and looked around. After a few seconds, he felt a little familiar. He asked uncertainly, Kakashi's home? Yes. Haruki flicked his hand slightly, and chakra wrapped the two of them, hiding his breath. He took Obito and jumped onto the wall of Hataki's house, and the situation in the courtyard was immediately seen. Obito only noticed that there were two guys with white fur, one tall and one short, fencing under the moon. It was Kakashi and his father Hatake Tsukumo. Two white short swords come and go, very dangerous. It's so amazing. Obito felt a little dry in his mouth. He has rarely seen Kakashi's swordsmanship at school, but as the son of Konoha's White Fang, it is impossible to know the swordsmanship. As for the original work, it's mostly because of Sharingan. In a sense, Sharingan greatly dragged down Kakashi in the early and mid-term. Of course, without this eye, he is unlikely to have such a big role in the later stage. However, in Haruki's view, even without Sharingan, Kakashi's achievements will not be much worse than Namikaze Minato under normal circumstances. Except for a few guys, being a Hokage is more than enough. You now know why he is better than you, right? Haruki asked. Because he has an old man called Konoha's White Fang. Obito thought for a while and replied. Think about it carefully. A black line appeared on Haruki's forehead, and he hit his head with a punch, and he missed the inferior Minato. Huh? Obito asked with a bewildered face, covering his head. Isn't it? His dad taught him how to use the sword. Quote. Haruki was speechless. Well, it was indeed too embarrassing for a few-year-old kid, he said. It's hard work. Do you think about what you are doing after school every day? Diligence. Obito was stunned. Yes, Kakashi goes home in time after school every day, and even skips class with a clone, but he is not playing, but learning and practicing. But what about himself? Thinking of his behavior of fishing for 3 days and drying the net for 2 days, he couldn't help feeling a little ashamed. At the same time, he knew that it was normal for him to be inferior to Kakashi. You and Kakashi have similar talents, but he is more diligent and harder and exchanged his talents in advance. If you don't change your current habits, it will be difficult to catch up with Kakashi unless you experience a big change one day. Haruki glanced at him, but didn't say a word. One of the biggest plugins you have, Sharingan, is destined to surpass Kakashi's, provided you don't give him your eyes. If the original work is still talking about the role of diligence in the early stage, but in the later stage, only blood and eyes can be seen. The only possible guy, Might Guy, was also banned and ended up with a lifelong disability. I understand. Obito exhaled. Kakashi has always been regarded as his lifelong enemy. Now he knows that his strength far superior to his peers actually comes from hard cultivation. If he wants to catch up, he must make the same effort. From tomorrow, after school, I will go to Minato and Makoto for special training. Hey, Obito was a little surprised. He thought he would practice alone, but he didn't expect Haruki to arrange 2 teachers for him. Not willing. Haruki asked back. Yes, of course I do. Obito nodded quickly. If Kakashi is currently only a genius circulating in the ninja school, then Minato and Makoto are geniuses in the ninja world, and Konoha recognize the future super ninja. I plan to let Minato be your team leader when you graduate. You can experience it in advance and see if he is satisfactory to you. Haruki smiled and said, I will also let Lin be your teammate by then. Really? Obito almost jumped up, because he knew that the graduation assignment was not for him to decide. In the future, he might not be in the same class with Rin Nohara, and Haruki's identity is qualified to decide. Will I still lie to you as a child? Thank you, teacher. Obito smirked suddenly. Try hard. Haruki thought for a while and didn't tell him that the other teammate was Kakashi. The teacher-student education class is over tonight. Haruki gave Obito a ride before returning home. I returned. Haruki interrupted himself. He opened the door and saw Tsunade pressed against the table, his eyes closed tightly. He probably could think that this guy was waiting for himself, and then waiting to doze off, and finally fell asleep. Haruki stepped forward, took a look at her posture, and stretched out his hand to pick her up. "You're back." Tsunade closed his eyes and rushed into his arms in a daze, like a cat, nuzzling. It's convenient to hug her. Haruki got up in the form of a princess and came to her room. It's time to let go. Haruki looked helplessly at her hands around her neck. No, no death. Tsunade seemed to be talking in a dream, or he lost his usual strength in a half-dream and half-awake period. What nonsense. Haruki couldn't hear her saying dead words, so she grabbed her fingers, and when she saw that the clasp was too tight, she pulled her head straight away, circumventing the tight bands of her arms. Good boy. Haruki smoothed her frowning eyebrows and gently sang a song from the previous life. My baby, I will give you a little sweetness, so that you can sleep well tonight. My little kid, squeeze your little face, let you like this world. Tsunade's expression gradually calmed down, with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. Haruki kissed that smile, and he suddenly wanted to get married, because he couldn't feel at ease without sleeping with her. Think of it, he has already got the diamond ring and diamond kunai from Hyuga-kun. Although Konoha's wedding does not require a ring, a modern person in his previous life is used to this ritual. The rest is fireworks on August 2nd, Tsunade's birthday. The best birthday gift is like. Haruki returned to his room. The next day, Konoha Daily began to promote the basketball game of the ninja school. Haruki intends to use this game as a gimmick to attract the ninjas and civilians in Konoha village, and then hold a large basketball game to earn a small amount of money. It was naturally mentioned that Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen will participate in this basketball game as a parent. The bosses all participated, and the big families who support Hokage will definitely get familiar with each other. The only person who feels dissatisfied is Shimura Danzo. He now has a very good understanding of the role of Konoha Daily, and is even jealous. The shit will of fire. Once Haruki wants to turn it back, this newspaper is his first knife, killing people without seeing blood. Shimura Danzo frowned and said so, but he found himself afraid to deal with Haruki. The involvement is too broad, and there is no reason. If it is known that Haruki died in his hands, Konoha may fall apart. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 79 The Ball is Scored. Originally Haruki planned to take Uchiha Obito to meet the Namikaze Minato trio today, but unexpectedly learned that they were not in Konoha, but went to the seaside town southeast of the Land of Fire to perform a Class B mission to destroy the pirates. Of course, it can be called a B-level mission. Naturally, it cannot be an ordinary pirate, but a ninja from Kurigakure. Although Kurigakure is far from the land and surrounded by the sea, there are still many large and small islands. Coupled with different customs and habits, small frictions with the country of fire continue. Often turned into pirates burned, killed and looted along the coast. Speaking of which, Kurigakure's Mizukage and Tsunade's Wind Shadows are the most unlucky shadows. Mizukage is controlled back and forth by Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito, and Fenkage is assassinated by Sasori and Orochimaru of Akasha. It's almost as miserable as Wolong and Phoenix. Haruki can only temporarily suspend Obito's special training and switch to a basketball game. The two teams Sarutobi Asuma and Hitaki Kakashi are now playing solely on personal hobbies. Although they are fancy, they don't have a unique memory point. Haruki took advantage of these few days to teach them the signature tricks of some very famous basketball superstars in previous lives. Such as dry pull jumpers, sky hooks, golden rooster independence, dreamy footsteps. It's almost hard to learn from a previous life, but the quality of a ninja matches the magic of chakra. Even if you can't learn the essence, it looks the same. All in all, the visual effect is good after nearly a week of training. At the weekend, the ninja school, which should have been closed, was still very noisy. After so long in Konoha Daily's publicity, almost the entire Konoha village knew about today's basketball game. In addition, Mr. Hokage, Uchiha, Hyuga, Hitaki and other big families joined in. It's really a blood loss if you don't run over and take a look. After all, it is human nature to watch the excitement and eat melons. When Haruki and Tsunade came to the basketball court, they only saw people. Except for the basketball hoop on the height, the entire playground was crowded, reminding Haruki of the horrible experience of traveling during the Golden Week in the past life. Fortunately, he anticipated such a scenario and built a stand specially. Tsunade, let's go to Master Hokage's side. Haruki pointed to the high platform where Sarutobi Hiruzen was. Besides him, there were many familiar faces, such as Hyuga Kazuji, Hitaki Sakumo, Uchiha Fugaku and others. Okay. Tsunade was also shocked by the enthusiastic people in front of him, nodded quickly, and Haruki came to the stand. Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the two of them beckoning. Konoha village hasn't been so lively for a long time. This shows that under the leadership of Lord Hokage, Konoha has regained prosperity. Ha ha ha, you really can talk with this mouth. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help laughing. He thought that Haruki would take credit. He didn't expect to be so sensible and would never mention his efforts. Teacher. Tsunade saluted slightly. It's a pity that Jiraiya is not here. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded to her. He is usually the most noisy. It must be a pity that he is working outside for Konoha, Haruki said with a smile. He doubted that Jiraiya was able to stay there to teach Nagato and others for 3 years because it was an excuse for cultivating spies. After all, Sarutobi Hiruzen was happy to see it succeeded. Don't talk about him. Sarutobi Hiruzen lowered his voice and asked, you are their teacher and know their strength best. What do you think of Asuma's winning percentage? 5-5. Haruki told the truth. Only 50%. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, I'm afraid that Asuma will lose, I will get angry again. But I don't think losing is a bad thing. Although Haruki doesn't know if Sarutobi Hiruzen is really afraid of Asuma's temper or losing Hokage's face, he still doesn't want to do anything in the dark. Failure is the mother of success. Life can never go smoothly. Adversity is not terrible. On the contrary, it is necessary to hone the mind. Haruki looked serious, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, and said, I am Asuma's teacher and I know him. He is very good. He will not lose his temper because of this. He will summarize this failure and become more and more courageous. I think this is the son of Lord Hokage, who inherited the will of fire. Successor. Sarutobi Hiruzen froze in place. No one has ever spoken to him like this. But surprisingly, he was not angry. Because it's about his son Asuma. His impression of Asuma has always been rebellious and disobedient, and even worried that he would not be able to comprehend the will of fire. But thinking of the recent changes in time, he suddenly felt a little guilty. He considers himself a qualified Hokage, but he is not a good father. Well said, Haruki. Sarutobi Hiruzen showed a hearty smile again. It seems that letting you be the principal is indeed the right choice. It's your knowledge that makes good use of, and I just did what I was supposed to do. Haruki said modestly. For a while, the atmosphere in the stands was excellent. The big families behind Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at each other. Although they heard that Haruki was loved by Hokage, they didn't expect to have reached this level. It's simply a big hit. Many people secretly decided not to offend Haruki even if they can't be friends. Only Tsunade curled his lips. This guy really talks to people and talks to ghosts. Unspeakable falsehood. But it's pretty cute when talking about love. The game is about to start. Haruki saw the students appearing on the basketball court and stopped chatting with Sarutobi Hiruzen. In fact, he is mainly talking about Sarutobi Asuma's performance in school. I am very happy to say Sarutobi Hiruzen. There is an illusion that Asuma is so good that it crushes Kakashi. Then we watch the ball. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand and said. Okay. After Haruki finished speaking, he ran over to Tsunade, saw her expression, couldn't help but smile, here. Tsunade looked down and saw that he hooked his finger, the slightest dissatisfaction he had previously disappeared, and he held his big warm hand. With bursts of cheers from the crowd eating melons, the realistic version of Slam Dunk was staged. Pretty. Sarutobi Asuma dunks. The lecturer on the field used chakra as a loudspeaker to spread his excited voice throughout the ninja school. As expected to be the son of Lord Hokage, look at this amazing bounce and amazing decision, he really dares to vote. And he also made it. Come here. The genius Hatake Kakashi is staring at Shiranui Genma. He is like the most experienced hunter, and will tear his prey in the next moment. Oh. The ball was robbed. Shiranui Genma did not guard Kakashi offense. God. Sarutobi Asuma, like lightning, broke through the defense zone of Morinoibiki and Pommel Rongyan in an instant. Got in. There were endless peaks after another, and the ninja school set off waves of heat in the sky. In the end, even Sarutobi Hiruzen did not hold back and ran to the basketball court in person during the intermission to sympathize and cheer. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 80 Learning from Obito. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen lit a cigarette and talked about yesterday's basketball game. It's a pity, Asuma and their team are only 3 points short. It's a pity, but this is the charm of competitive sports. It's hard to tell the winner until the last minute. Haruki followed his tone, and his expression naturally showed regret. You're right. The vigorous and energetic appearance of those little guys yesterday reminded me of the lost youth. It's really a good memory. The only shortcoming is that there are not many students who lived in the same period. Sarutobi Hiruzen seems a little sentimental today. Haruki glanced at him. Most of his classmates were students and escorts of second Hokage Senju Tobarama, but they basically died in the war. The remaining alive are Shimura Danzo, Mitokado Homura, Udatane Kaharu, and Akamaiki. You know how I asked Asuma to feel after the failure last night, how did he get back to me? He said that it was his failure that caused the failure, and he didn't take into account his teammates and was too arrogant. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued, but his face was full of emotion. Asuma has grown up. When Haruki heard this, he finally understood why he was so different today. After all, he is old, and no longer has the spirit of being young. Later, for the so-called Konoha stability, Danzo's various suppressions were acquiesced. He is the son of Master Hokage after all, Haruki said with a smile. Don't compliment me. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a breath. I know why he changed. I should thank you for this. It's my job, and I also like Asuma this kid. Haruki continued to talk nonsense with his eyes open. It's a blessing for Konoha to have a ninja like you. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but said. Hokage-sama has a good reputation. Haruki bowed slightly as a thank you. Come here today, I have one more request. Oh, what's the matter? If you want to marry Tsunade, I promise you. Marriage. Why do you want to urge you to marry? Haruki took out the scroll and handed it to Sarutobi Hiruzen. You two are not young anymore. I am at your age and my son can already make soy sauce. Sarutobi Hiruzen opened the scroll, startled slightly. You are willing to use the income from basketball to set up scholarships and bursaries at the ninja school, as well as to improve student food. It is a blessing for them to have a principal like you. Because of the basketball game at the ninja school, basketball has sold a lot. I just wanted to do something for these kids. Well, if everyone is like you, how worried about Konoha's future? Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled. Who is your scholarship for this semester, which is what you call the 3 good students? There are 3 people, Asuma, Kakashi and Obito. I can understand Asuma and Kakashi, but what is Obito? I remember he belongs to the Uchiha clan, but he has no talent. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned slightly. He didn't like Uchiha. Because he is a different kind of Uchiha. Haruki briefly talked about his life experience and personality, and finally seemed to be casual but deliberately added, I think he is Uchiha who can inherit the will of fire. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately thought of Uchiha Kagami. His former teammate, the man who perfectly implemented the will of fire, is also the guard of second Hokage Senju Tobirama. This is the differentiation technique of his teacher. Pull the line of maintenance Hokage in Uchiha to monitor other Uchiha. But it is a pity that Uchiha Kagami is dead. His successor has not appeared so far. Maybe Uchiha Obito can. Since it's your vision, there must be nothing wrong. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded and said. If Master Hokage agrees, then I hope to borrow your name and use it. What tricks do you want to play? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked curiously. You will be able to see it in 2 days. Keep it secret now. Haruki blinked with a mysterious expression. You kid. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and shook his head, but was not angry. Haruki is already at the same level as his apprentice in his mind, and it's not a big deal for the apprentice to make a joke. After he left, he said, add Uchiha Obito to the watch list. Yes. There was a response in the empty air. Afternoon. Class A for the first grade. Haruki stood on the podium, holding the wrapped paper in his hand. The students underneath looked at him curiously, wondering what was interesting today. They have become accustomed to Haruki's new tricks from time to time. Although like opening blind boxes, some are interesting, and some are sour and refreshing. I met Master Hokage this morning. He is very satisfied with your performance in the game yesterday. I hope you will continue to work hard. Haruki cleared his throat and said with a smile. The classroom suddenly exclaimed. Mrs. Hokage's appreciation is rarely obtained even by their parents, but they did not expect to get it by themselves. It was almost instantaneous to the peak of life. Don't be eager to be happy, there is one more thing. Haruki clapped his hands, and the students calmed down immediately. The school plans to establish scholarships to reward the 3 best performing students with 30,000 taels each semester. 30,000 taels. Mom. So many. I have made a fortune. The noise rang. For these little guys who are generally only 5 years old, 30,000 taels is simply a huge sum of money. Even Genin needs some time to accumulate such an amount of money. Now I announce the 3 students who have received scholarships this semester. Haruki looked at the expectant and nervous faces below, and said 3 of Asuma, Kakashi and Obito. He obviously noticed that when the first 2 names were pronounced, the students underneath had all the expected expressions, but only when he came to Obito, almost everyone was surprised, which caused an uproar. Why Obito? Teacher, did you make a mistake? Why did he get a scholarship from the back of a crane? Haruki was not surprised by their reaction. He looked at Obito. The previous smile has disappeared, but his face is a little uncomfortable. Only Nohara Lin and Kakashi looked at him worriedly. Have you forgotten the respect for classmates I told you earlier? Haruki knocked on the blackboard, suppressing the voice. Since the teacher chose Obito, there is naturally my reason. If you hear something that doesn't match your perceptions and you desperately deny it, your class is really a waste of learning. Haruki scanned them. No one dared to look at him. Obito was moved. If you want to know the reason, just look at the Konoha Daily tomorrow. You naturally understand. Haruki flicked his right hand, and the 3 rolled-up certificates were distributed in front of the 3 of them. Obito shuddered and opened. Uchiha Obito performed well in the first semester of the first year and was rated as a triple good student. This certificate is hereby issued for encouragement. Single quote. And the next day, everyone who bought the newspaper found that today's front page was a bit different. Hokage-sama Sarutobi Hiruzen called to learn from Obito. Single quote. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.